Steps inside once, twice, has another bounce. Cap it off, David Wapunda. Cap it off, he does! Brilliant stuff.
The House of Pain will give the Eagles courage, but the Demons are desperate to get back in the 8.
Plays on, 60-metre kick required. Robertson!
There's no room for error in this struggle for survival. As West Coast and Melbourne put on a show you won't want to miss.
4 games to go and nothing is certain for the West Coast Eagles and this team, the Melbourne Demons, as they battle for a place in September. Subiaco Oval on a very pleasant day here in Perth. Temperature in the mid-teens, partly cloudy skies, so much to play for. Hi everyone, welcome along to Subiaco Oval. Dennis Committee alongside Jason Bennett for more action from round 19. The Eagles and the Demons. And Jason, they can't be taken lightly, Melbourne. They've travelled well this season.
They have, Dennis. Good afternoon to you and everyone. And Neil Danaher saying that the trip this week, a great chance for them to really bond together. Their record says 1-3 on the road this year, but the win was against Brisbane at the Gabba. It was a fantastic performance. And then 2 losses within a kick to Port Adelaide and Fremantle. So they're coming over here pretty confident.
Let's set the stage as we take a look at the AFL ladder. Brisbane and Adelaide won yesterday. The Eagles are 5th. But bear in mind, 1.5 games separate 7 teams. Melbourne are 10th, Essendon playing today. The Bulldogs lost last night. It really is tight in the middle of the table. 1 false step and you're gone.
And 2 incredibly evenly matched teams as well. When you look at over 18 weeks, Melbourne have kicked just 7 more points than West Coast, and West Coast conceded 5 less points. So their seasons have almost been identical.
Melbourne dropped a game last Sunday against Richmond, a game they could ill afford to lose. Their record now 9-10. They would have gone in thinking they could win that game. As we look at the run home for these 2 clubs, it gets very tough for the West Coast Eagles. Brisbane at the Gabba, Port Adelaide at Subi, and then the Kangaroos in Canberra. By contrast, Melbourne's run home slightly better. The Western Bulldogs, Sydney and St Kilda. And I suppose on balance you would say Melbourne favoured, provided they can win a game like this afternoon.
They just need to start their runs towards the end of games a little bit early. We've seen over the last couple of weeks to Port Adelaide and Richmond, they've come storming home, but their poor starts have cost them. So that'll certainly be one of the main messages from Neil Danaher this afternoon.
And I've got to say that name would haunt the West Coast Eagles after last week at Optus Oval.
Yes, Nathan Brown took them apart last week for the Bulldogs. It's Nathan Brown today playing his 50th game for Melbourne. And, well, he's turned his career around the last couple of seasons. Played just 12 games in his first 3 years, but has played 37 in the last 2 years. Turned into a pretty handy player.
David Sierakowski playing his 100th game. 93 of them for the Saints. He debuted back in 94. Big day for both those gentlemen. We're set to go. It's Melbourne at Subiaco Oval against the West Coast Eagles. Stick around. This should be a beauty. Sierakowski. That's a lovely effort. One goal. Out they come, the West Coast Eagles at home this afternoon, needing a win to consolidate. As we said earlier, starting in 5th position today. And David Sierakowski leads them onto the ground. Game number 100. It's taken a while, as we said. And Melbourne out there for some time. So the late arriving Eagles, as we say good afternoon to Ben Allen.
Good afternoon, Dennis. Looking forward to a pretty exciting game. You talked about Melbourne's form on the road. It's been pretty solid. Their win up in Brisbane was outstanding, and I expect Neil Danaher and his team to give a pretty good account of themselves.
We often hear about a potential final. This is like a final, they say. Well, this, Ben, is like a final as we take a look at the West Coast Eagles lineup.
Yeah, and they look pretty solid down the spine, don't they? A couple of boys I think are quite interesting today. Lynch and Sierakowski, power forwards. No Troy Wilson, of course, but if they get their hands on the footy, they're hard to get around. Good to see Peter Matera back. I think Phil Matera and also Wheatley getting around the feet of those power forwards will be important, and the bench is important as well. Judd and Chambers have been fantastic coming off the bench and having an impact, and Dean Cox will give Michael Gardner a reprieve against Jeff White.
Philip Matera back in form last week, having a pretty good season. Had his problems with umpire Kelsey in the Melbourne match back in round 4.
And Ben, you mentioned Quinton Lynch and his importance to this side. Without Troy Wilson in this lineup, his rise to prominence has been a very timely one.
He's a big boy, isn't he? And he's just in his first year of footy. If he can just straighten up his kicking, he'd just have a bit more of an impact. And Callum Chambers, well, they call him the super sub nowadays. He started every game this year on the bench, which is quite amazing. His running ability has been fantastic for the team.
Like a triple threat match as we go to the Melbourne lineup.
And we know they've got the leading goal kicker in the comp, David Neitz, but I expect Russell Robertson and Peter Vardy to be a handful for West Coast. They've had their trouble with the small forwards from the opposition this year. Cameron Bruce is an interesting player for me as well. Centre half-back, played on Richardson last week. He may get more of a midfield role. And I like young Whelan. I reckon he can set up play for Melbourne, and they've been pretty good running off the half-back line, and Whelan is prominent in that area.
Toss of the coin won by Ben Cousins. He was tossing against David Neitz, the captain of Melbourne, who's enjoying a fine season. The likely Coleman medalist. If he does win, it's likely to be with the lowest total since Lee Matthews in 1975. Matthews won with 68 goals.
One of their major playmakers is that man on screen, Adam Uze, also having a fantastic season. Leads the AFL in kicks and inside 50s, and leads the club in possessions inside 50s. Handball receives, hard and loose gets. He's the man around the middle of the ground for Melbourne.
And there's Jeff White. We know his leaping and tapping ability is outstanding in the area. He knows Subiaco Oval reasonably well with his time spent at Fremantle, but he needs to be watched in general play because he can sneak out in the open and receive some easy ball for the Melbourne team.
The umpires this afternoon, James, Rosebery and Ellis, as we say good afternoon to Mark Reddings on the boundary.
Yes, good afternoon. Cool but very pleasant conditions for this round 19 clash. We've had some rain in Perth this week, but the surface has held up pretty well. Eagles coach John Worsfold has called for his team's fans to get behind them this afternoon, given the importance of the match. And Neil Danaher, when asked about coming to the House of Pain, has said he'd like to turn it into Silent Subiaco. We'll have to wait and see.
Silent Subiaco. Silent Stadium. They're talking about naming rights of this ground, and the local council not very happy. Back in round 4, Melbourne accounted for the Eagles at Optus Oval. There's a name. By 34 points, David Neitz spotted 6 goals, and Stephen Powell had 35 possessions. Interesting to note he's back in the team this afternoon, Powell, at the expense of Broadbridge, who injured a knee last week against the Tigers. And thinking back, that was a real bad loss as far as the Demons were concerned, losing to Richmond. They would have factored that one in. So as a result, they've got to take up the slack, and we're better than Silent Subiaco. Ashley Sampier facing the crowd. Jeremy Hum sitting in front of him. So we're set to go with the action. Sunday afternoon football from Subi. The breeze not a factor. Conditions ideal, just as they were in Melbourne yesterday, although the breeze was a little stronger yesterday at the MCG. Away we go. Round 19 rolls on. Gardner goes high and slaps it down. Ward charges in. It's Bills to Cousins. Cousins away quickly. Probing kick inside the 50. Bounces awkwardly for Lamb. Taken by Lynch. This could be a fairy tale start.
Well, it was pretty easy in the end, wasn't it? Ben Cousins actually started that centre bounce loose in defence. He started it basically centre half back. The ball was bounced. Gardner won the tap, and Cousins just basically sprinted directly at his goals and swooped on that loose ball. In, one out, and Lynch pretty good. A nice little deft snap around the corner. Good for his confidence, but straight away we see Melbourne changing that, with Ben Cousins now getting picked up by Godfrey.
Well, we mentioned in the opening, Melbourne's sluggish starts have been costly. They've won just one first quarter in their last 9 weeks. And that's something they'll look to rectify. Not a great start, however. The Eagles have got a flyer through Quinton Lynch. White went up and got the tap down, out wide, picked up by Weapunda. West Coast will go forward again through Williams. Kick missed its target. It was looking for Sirakoski. Inside 50, picked up by Lamb. Little dish off to Bizzle. He kicks around his body and finds Travis Johnstone. Handball to the run of Leoncelli. On to Powell. And Powell will kick long towards half forward. Bruce is his target, a couple to beat in the air. At ground level, it's Daniel Kerr for West Coast. Little handball to Woewodin. His kick goes around the outer side. No one there for the Eagles. Chance for Travis Johnstone in best position. He'll square it up. Goes lateral in the middle of the ground and finds Wheatley. To the run of Bizzle towards half forward. Here's Bruce on this side of the ground, presenting himself again. Tries to get away from Hunter, can't do so. Ball spills to Miller. Handball looking for Vardy, missed its target. And Colliker takes it to the line for a throw in. So Cameron Bruce looks like being their mobile option across half forward. Gonna have to cover plenty of ground. Haven't quite filled the hole since David Schwartz retired mid-season. David Neitz has been magnificent, but he tends to work closer to the goal square. Banfield comes away from defensive 50. Kick misses its target. It's picked off by Jeff White. White goes towards the skipper, Neitz. Leads underneath the ball. Weir Punter at the back. Didn't quite sit for him. Can't keep it in. We'll have a throw in about 25 metres around from the Melbourne goal. West Coast with the opening goal of the game. We've gone 2.5 minutes.
Boundary throw in the pocket. Neitz hooks it down behind cleverly. Powell onto it. Was he taken high?
Yep.
Yes, he was, according to the umpire. This will be interesting to take another look at. It was for too high, not a push in the back. It was too high, no doubting that. So Powell directly in front. A chance to level the scores. Not a long kick, but generally an accurate kick. Tends to kick a high ball, but no breeze to fear. That's a high ball, straight through the middle. Scores a level.
It's good set play from Melbourne. Fantastic tap from David Neitz over the top of his head from that boundary throw in, just into open space. Woewodin made good ground here, but he should have been on Powell a lot earlier than he was. He's actually had to take a bit of a risk in the end. If he had manned him up right when that boundary throw-in was occurring, he wouldn't have had to make those yards to try and get onto him. So a little bit lax in defence, Woewodin, but good tap from Neitz initially.
So all locked up here at Subiaco. A couple of inside 50s and a goal for each side. White got the tap again through the hands of Johnston. Socket off the ground. Walsh goes off the ground again for the Demons. Johnston gets it back. Handball to Powell. He can run through the front edge of the square. Stephen Powell tried to draw a player. Lack of communication there. Uze ran away from him, and West Coast have the football. Weir Punter. Bumped as he kicked by Ward, but it finds its target, and that man is Cousins. Possession number 2 for the skipper. So Ben Cousins, averaging 24 touches a game, 3rd in the AFL this season. Chips it over the top and finds the dangerous Philip Matera, 65 metres from goal. His brother Peter leads back towards the goal square. Ignores that. Melbourne defenders get back in numbers. Close down the space. False start from Philip Matera. Goes by hand to Weir Punter. Searing kick inside the 50. On the bounce is Williams. Had a bit of company there, and they're all in the wrong colour jumpers. It's taken away by Johnston. Wants to draw Matera to him and then give the handball to Wheatley. Back to Johnston. Runs to defensive 40.
Good play.
And then just chips it outside and finds Brown. Nathan Brown goes towards the Robertson lead, and he takes the mark just forward to centre wing.
Space
Powell
for Neitz.
has been running hard early in this game. Had 2 weeks off courtesy of a suspension. So he's pretty fresh in the legs. It beat the Neitz-McIntosh contest. And McIntosh goes back to tidy up for West Coast.
To Green, right half back and running. Casey Green. Almost stopping now. Checks. Goes to Wooden, forward of half back. It's a goal apiece. Josh Wooden. Right half back for the West Coast Eagles. In bright sunny conditions. Goes wide. Plenty of Melbourne players out there. Going to ground out there, Sirakowski. Flicks it out somehow, kept it alive. Charging in and going down was Bizzle. Got a hand pass Melbourne's way. Leoncelli dives in, slaps it forward, and it goes out of bounds.
Both sides reluctant in general play, basically from the half-back line to kick to a 50-50. Sometimes, especially early in the game, why not kick it 50 metres into your forward zone?
Saw Judd looking on there, possibly their best player last week, the Eagles, and that loss to the Bulldogs. Behind the pack, this is Fletcher. Chips it down towards half-forward, into the path of Cousins. Cousins runs onto the footy, 75 metres out, well played. Godfrey got him down. Cousins hand pass, knocked on by Walsh. Peter Matera back in the team this afternoon, has the football across the body. Kerr traps it nicely, goes to Hunter, 60 metres out. Hunter kicks to Matera. Well, ball watching was Whelan, and Matera simply slipped him.
He's an attacking back pocket player, is Matthew Whelan, Dennis, and I was watching him then. He was actually banking on Godfrey when the Godfrey and Cousins duel was going on, there being a loose ball. It was received from by a West Coast Eagle and thrown back into their forward line. Whelan's just got to play a lot more defensively, especially early in the game. You can't give a small forward like Phil Matera an easy goal. Get his confidence up and he could be away for the rest of the match.
Matera sneaks it through.
Good smart play, Matera. One thing he does understand is when to run into open space. It's a nice little handball from Kerr, and Hunter just threw it on the boot. Whelan would have been 50 metres off his man. That's poor. Neil Danaher wouldn't be happy with that. I'm intrigued at the Godfrey and Cousins duel. Godfrey's a very disciplined player. He's played on Peter Bell, another hard-working type, and given him a hard time in the past. But I think Ben Cousins in for a tough day today.
Simon Godfrey, a very disciplined tagger. He and Cousins will be an interesting duel all afternoon. West Coast have the advantage. Wepunda couldn't get it out of the middle. On it went to Melbourne. Nathan Brown towards half forward. Colica tidies up. Handball to Michael Pryor. And the former Bomber goes around the outer side. Ward up for Melbourne. Ball hits the deck. Here's Wepunda. Squares it up to Gardner. Plays on, kicks towards half forward. Cousins runs hard to get to the contest. Lamb attacked the football at ground level now. Lynch right on 50, ridden into the ground by Powell. He went to ground, and then Powell came in over the top of him. Umpire says, I'll bounce it right on the 50. There's Lynch just losing his feet. Powell did a pretty good job to stay out of his back there. Generally in that situation to see the player pile in on top and give away a free kick.
Lucky not to be holding the ball, I reckon.
White got the tap. Only as far as Banfield. Handball to Fletcher. Releases Peter Matera. He runs to 30 metres out and pops it through. Great clearance from the West Coast Eagles there from a stoppage.
And the one area from Melbourne's point of view is just their defensive all over the ground. Their defensive quality just seems to be a little bit lax. We know they love to attack from the half-forward line, but West Coast Eagles have basically won that ball through weight of numbers about 50 metres out from goal. They need to play hard one-on-one footy when the ball's in their defensive half, and the trend, if it continues this way, you'd think Melbourne are in for a tough day.
Eagles by 12 points. White and Gardner. Got a good bounce that time. Gardner knocked it down. Leoncelli jams it on the boot to half forward. Robertson to Brown, 60 metres out. Their delivery has been poor to Neitz so far. McIntosh did well. Hunter likewise. This is Pryor running out of space. Requires a kick that was beyond him, out of bounds on the full. Awkward one for Michael Pryor. Woewodin's got it. Melbourne to go back inside their 50, one suspects. If not now, soon. Woewodin, where's Neitz? He's deep this time. Woewodin setting it up for him. He moves now, Neitz, up he goes. Left hand of the ball, spills towards the boundary. Vardy tracks it across. And certainly he needs better service, does David Neitz. He's in rare form at the moment, but so far the balls have been too high or generally on the bounce to him. Tossed in. Jakovic, clean possession, well done by McIntosh. Jakovic could have dropped the footy there, could have been holding it. Comes towards Hunter, getting a body in was Johnstone. He's been very good. Trapped the footy, in trouble Johnstone. Gets a hand pass away. Powell, he committed, immediately attracts the crowd. Ball up with the Eagles on top by 12, but defending right here.
He took the hit well then, didn't he, Stephen Powell? He's had an unusual year. He's been dropped, but he's also played some outstanding footy. And he had to take the physical punishment. Then it was good play, retains the ball in Melbourne's forward half.
Averaging 19 touches a game this season, Stephen Powell. Leoncelli emerges from the congestion. Kick partly smothered. Finds its way to Gardner. Heard the voice, and the voice was Kerr. He goes outside defensive 50 looking for Cousins. Wheatley over the top. Spoils it to the line. We'll have a throw in. Travis Johnstone, 7 possessions for the Demons, leads the game. Powell has 4, Bizzle 3. For West Coast, Wepunda has 5 possessions, 4 each to Kerr and Wooden. Throw in. Infringement in the ruck contest. It's going the way of Melbourne. We'll come back to Jeff White for his second possession. 70 metres from goal. Spears it inside, looking for Neitz. It's a beautiful kick. The lead was fine as well, just couldn't finish the deal. Juggled it, dropped it.
There's been 3 chances, hasn't there? There's been 2 poor kicks, and that one there, Neitz just dropped the mark. But the good thing about it is, from Melbourne's point of view, they are opening up that forward line for Neitz. He should have grabbed that. He'd be very disappointed with that. But Casey Green doing a great job on Adam Uze at the minute.
So Neitz and McIntosh go in the ruck. Spills to the back. There is Jakovic. Comes towards the members' side with a kick. Missed the target. Banfield and out for a throw in. David Neitz, 6 goals last time these sides met. 5 in the second term. But importantly, Ben, Ashley McIntosh injured his hamstring in the opening minutes of that game, and they just couldn't find the right matchup.
Yeah, he blew them away that match, but McIntosh is fully fit now.
Right on the 50 for Melbourne. Hunter, double-fisted tap towards the line. Shark by Peter Matera. Around the members' wing. Williams and Ward. Sirakoski comes across and crashes into Williams. They pick themselves up. Trot back out to the battlefield. So a throw in. Right on the wing. White got to the front. Clever little tap down to Lee and Shelley. Kicks towards half forward. Uze attacks it. The bounce beat him. Jakovic to tidy up for West Coast. Just crashes through Adam Uze towards half forward. Kerr flies high. Wheatley flew higher. Took a pretty clever mark at defensive 60. Called to play on. Comes around the wing and spots a man in space. It's Woewodin. Second touch for Shane Woewodin. Averaging 20 a game. Uncertain of his options. Brings it inboard. Then goes short looking for Vardy. The kick had to be precise. Wasn't quite there. Powell shrugged the tackle from Collicker. Dished it off to Cameron Bruce. Neitz has got space again. The delivery was poor. He attacked it. McIntosh attacked him. Play on. It comes to Robertson. Wheels onto his left boot. Kicks it back towards the goal square. Peter Matera tidies up for West Coast and just chips the defensive 50 and finds his brother Phillip.
It plays on. Stayed in. That would have been touch and go. Fletcher's mark right on the line. Pops it towards the wing. Woewodin on the lead. Comes back towards the middle. Jakovic. Peter Matera alongside. So Matera into the path of Wooden. Plenty of space up ahead. He'll take off. One bounce. He's 75 metres out. Settles. Goes for distance. Hangs a long time in the air. At the back, Williams a half chance. Kerr snaps. And I tell you what, that's a wonderful effort. Fine goal.
It was a good set-up play from the half-back line. A great switch of play from David Wirapunda. The pass across to, I think it was Peter Matera initially, was fantastic, and that set the play up. Ball ended up, and it's just gone deep into a dangerous area. The ball's kept alive and great snap, but it was a great little pass from Wirapunda on the half-back line that set that entire forward sortie out.
So West Coast open up a pretty handy lead early in this game. They're out to an 18-point margin. 10 minutes remaining in the term. Indecisive tap. Ball goes West Coast way. Banfield's little kick was picked up by Peter Matera. Goes to space inside 50. There's Phillip Matera. Turns. Couldn't get away from Whelan. Got the handball to Sirakoski in his 100th game. Bends it across his body. And misses to the left-hand side for the first blemish of the afternoon. Behind to David Sirakoski. Chris Judd prepares to come on for West Coast. The margin now for the Eagles is 19 points.
Been pretty good out of the middle as well this quarter, West Coast. Not only are they getting out of the centre, they're actually getting into a really dangerous position into their forward half, which is, as a defender from Melbourne, cause you some worrying periods.
Johnstone with a kick in. Straight up the middle. It's a 3-on-1 contest, and Woewodin was the one. Couldn't get it. Peter Matera to Fletcher. Went to the call. He was called out by Whelan. Whelan to White. Goes looking for Russell Robertson, and he marks out on the lead in front of Jakovic. Turns onto his right boot. Goes further afield looking for Vardy. Good kick, good lead. Terrible handball. Now they're under pressure. Here's Judd. Wants to use his leg speed. Handball inside to Pryor. Back to Judd, who just kept running. White looks to corral him. Gives it to Wirapunda. He wants to run around Bizzle. Chips over the top to Sirakoski. He plays on. Judd has kept running. Great running, Chris Judd. Goes to 20 metres out. Kick the goal, and he does. Great goal, Chris Judd. Well, he's an exciting player. Would have to be well and truly up there for the National Bank Rising Star Award. Hope you're enjoying this one right around Australia on Fox Footy. West Coast have got to fly. They lead by 25 points.
It's intriguing how Judd and Chambers this year, they've both would have spent or started about 90% of the games on the bench. As soon as they come on, they have an impact straight away. It's just extraordinary that their dynamic ability and their running ability can have such an impact on a game of footy.
Celebrations all round. Wonderful running goal. I'm not sure Vardy didn't play on out of bounds, actually, but had they paid it, we would have been denied one of the goals of the afternoon. So I guess the Eagles will take it. 5-1 to a goal. Alarm bell sounding already for the Demons. White was up. Kerr comes away. Swings it out wide. On the lead, Green. Close to the boundary line. Fletcher wants it back in the middle. Fletcher is still on. Green flirts with it. Decides against it. Not his best effort, although gets there. Wooden inside the centre square. Eagles dominating now. Banfield. Philip Matera.
He's causing them some problems, but the worrying sign from Melbourne, Adam Uze hasn't touched the footy. I think he had 27 kicks last week. He's the leading kick getter in the AFL, and when he's quiet, there's some worrying signs. He only needs to get it about 15 times. He's such a dynamic and brilliant disposer of the footy, but yet to touch the ball at the minute.
Philip Matera, 5 goals against Melbourne, round 13 last season. Going at his second right here. Currently 36 in the season. Right on the 50, Philip Matera. His brothers started well. He's missed this one. Both of them looking very dangerous. Peter and Philip. Peter back after a calf injury. And the Eagles now doing all the attacking. They lead at 5-2 to a goal. And as we said, there's Peter sitting down. The breeze not a factor, just gently wafting across the ground.
Bizzle with the kick in for Melbourne. Kicks in this game 42-22 at the moment in favour of West Coast. Johnston to Uze for his first touch.
Interesting, Johnston's had 8 of the 22.
Uze averaging 22 a game. Goes towards the wing off the hands of the contest. He's Whelan. He's got a man fall to the ball. It's Cameron Bruce. He has a bounce. Runs to 55. Goes deep looking for Neitz. Just caught out of position there. The kick wasn't to his advantage. At ground level, Jakovic comes over the top of it. Did well. Put his head down, went straight through. Hunter to Gardner. And the Eagles are away again. The big fella goes for a run. Well, he gave it his best shot.
Cameron Bruce had a couple of opportunities to hit David Neitz on the chest, and both times he's erred with his disposal.
So Bizzle with a resultant free kick. Goes back inside defensive 50 and finds Ward for his first possession. Wants to switch play to the outer side. Wheatley's the target. He takes the mark and can run away from defensive 50. Lamb just lost his footing as he went for the contest. Lynched it enough to force it to the line. And again, we see the Demons with a sluggish start. As I mentioned earlier in the quarter, they've won just one first term in the last 9 weeks. And a number of those have proved to cost them the game as they come storming home to no avail. Weapunda works with Wooden, gets it back. Goes to Williams at half forward. He takes off, runs to 60 metres out. Thumping kick towards the square. Matera's got 2 to beat. Play on is the call. Woewodin to tidy up for Melbourne. Dribbles it towards defensive 50. And Judd takes it to the line.
Because they're dropping back, Woewodin's playing a defensive wingman at the minute, so he's getting back loose in defence. There's a lot of easy ball for guys like Wirrapunda for the West Coast Eagles in general play. So it's pretty non-defensive footy from Melbourne's point of view in the middle of the ground.
Eagles by 26 points. Adjacent to the pack, Godfrey taken down. This reminds me very much of the matchup in Brisbane at the Gabba, when Melbourne came from behind to beat the Lions after a lamentable start. That's the best face I can put on things as far as Melbourne supporters are concerned. They don't look good at the moment. A lot of work lies ahead. White down to McDonald. Bizzle. Nothing on across the ground, so he's got a problem, Bizzle. Needs to be precise. Is Uze coming up for his second possession right here. second kick as it comes up towards the wing. Wheatley, fingertips to it, deflecting it out of bounds. Cox waiting to come on. Replaces the small man, Kerr.
He's going forward, Dennis, to try and stretch the Melbourne defence.
Already stretched, I'd suggest.
Woewodin will be his opponent.
Yes, that's their trouble. They're tall defenders, so many of them injured, and they didn't have a lot to start with. In real trouble against some size. They found that last week. Hurried kick from Pryor, missed by Fletcher at the back. Over the football there was Walsh trying to knock it out. Legged was Williams. Will he get a free kick? Yes, advantage will be paid. Cousins, Surakoski, now Judd. And the umpire decides, well, I can't let you go forever. I'm bringing it back. And the crowd aren't happy. But in essence, the umpire was trying to do the right thing. So Cousins gets it.
No.
Not a good kick. Maybe the umpire can take it back again. Johnston peels off half back, chips it across to White. There's this jolly. It's White, a hand pass, not particularly good. Uze under pressure, kicks inside the 50. It bounces down towards Neitz. We've seen that a few times. Right in his hip pocket there was McIntosh. Banfield comes away. Beautiful kick to Judd.
So Judd from defensive 60 squares it up. Dangerous kick, missed Gardner. Puts Woodin under pressure. Vardy sweats on him. Powell to White. White will go towards the square. Robertson will make his best effort to get to this, and does, but can't keep it in. Goes around the post.
It's a throw. It's a free kick. He's thrown it around the point post. Very smart play, but the umpire was onto it.
It was worth a try.
Well, does he go across the line here?
He just tossed it up.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
It's a throw.
No, it's not. Not if you catch it yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. That is one of the goals of the season we've been denied.
Collicker to McIntosh.
Oh, what's going on?
Then he comes away from defensive 50. Neitz comes across and intercepts for the Demons.
That's a terrible decision.
To McDonald. Goes inside 50. It's an ordinary kick. The delivery inside the forward 50 for Melbourne's been shocking in this opening term. McIntosh picked that one off. Gave it to Gardner. Gardner to Woodin. The 1-2 back to Gardner. Lopes around the outer wing. Goes looking for Lynch. Tries to gather on the bounce. Bizzle flashes across. Picks up the football. Gives it to Bruce. Bruce to Brown. He runs away from Lynch and goes towards half forward. Robertson's his target. Tried to gather on the bounce. Did so in the second attempt. Got it to McDonald. Tried to step Hunter. Got away with it. Then chips to the pocket looking for Vardy and Collicker. More particularly Vardy, not so much Collicker. Found neither of them and a throw in. The ball's about 40 metres out from the Melbourne goal. Neitz will go in the ruck against McIntosh. Jakovic, the third man up, took possession, then fell to ground. Plenty of numbers around the ball. Vardy taken in a tackle by Collicker. And we will have a bounce.
So ball up about 35 metres out. How about that? Giving away a bit of size. He did that last week as well. Not quite as much against Matthew Richardson.
14 centimetres and 16 kilos. Looks like the midget wrestling if it goes down there.
There's a kick from Leoncelli. It's come off a boot, has it? It's a goal. No, it's a behind. Sorry, missed that. Leoncelli hooking with the left boot. And the ball deflecting across the line. Now Pryor to bring it in. 5-2 to 1-1. Short, up the middle. Hunter. See the time remaining till quarter time. Comes wide towards the wing and Gardner on the lead. White gave a contest, got a fist on it, knocked it out of bounds. It'll be tossed in. Forward of right centre wing for Melbourne. Terrific start by the West Coast Eagles. 5-2 to 1-1. Gardner hooks it down brilliantly. Cousins, strong shepherd came from Judd. Poor kick from Cousins though. Uze on the end of it. There's a man on down towards right half forward. Godfrey spotted him too late. Now to Woewodin in space. A runner alongside. Steps around Embley and kicks inside the 50. Going back, Collicker. Fingertips to it. Brown at the back, running out of space, hard against the line. Still a live ball, it bounces in the square. Godfrey tries with a boot, but Cousins worked him off the line of the ball and tapped it across.
So it looks like being a long day for the Melbourne forwards at the moment, Ben. They've been inside 50 13 times, but only had 5 possessions inside that 50, so the ball's coming out pretty easily. Yeah, but I think the good thing from David Neitz's point of view, he's got poor disposal at him, but his work rate still looks pretty good. He's trying to encourage his teammates to work hard in the forward 50. Pryor goes looking for and finding Hunter. He goes looking for and finding Green, who marks just in front of Anthony McDonald. Backward of the wing, Casey Green. Chips up towards the wing, Sierakowski. Outsizes Bizzle. Bizzle did enough to bring it to ground. Uze sharked it, gave it to Ward. Looping handball over the top to Johnston. He's got a man out wide on his own. It's Wheatley. If he can gather his away, 65 metres from goal. Wants to step around Hunter. Goes with the left boot. It was a beautiful kick. Robertson had to lead wide to the pocket. And he takes the mark about 30 metres out. Gee, it was a good kick and on his non-preferred in the end, but Robinson's taking that ball right on the boundary line. I reckon he had an opportunity to come inside and kick on his right and leave the ball in a more central position. Good pass, as I said, but if Robinson kicks this, it'll be, well, you probably give him 5 out of 10. Right behind the kick. Yeah, the percentage was too low there. And he misses to the near side for a behind. So the Demons are 1-3, West Coast are 5-2. The margin 23 points. Closing stages of this first term at Subiaco. And Michael Pryor has the kick in for West Coast. Goes short to the back pocket and finds McIntosh. Ashley McIntosh playing his 225th game for West Coast this afternoon. Dual premiership. Best and fairest and All-Australian. Goes outside defensive 50 and Gardner takes the mark. Starting to get a bit of the ball around the ground as well. Up towards the wing. Bizzle attacked it. Brought it to ground. Woewodin through his hands. Ward wins the football. Gets it to White. White goes inside 50 looking for Vardy. Good strong mark. He's under fierce pressure from Collicker and again for the second time went to play on. Umpire gives him the benefit of the doubt on that occasion. And Vardy will go back from about 55 to 60 metres out. Siren about to go for quarter time, and it does now. So Vardy will have to kick this the best part of 60 metres. No real wind to speak of. From 55 out, launches it, started it right, finished it there as well. So through for a behind. So it's quarter time here at Subiaco, and West Coast have taken the honours in the opening term. Their margin at quarter time, 22 points.
Eagles off and running this afternoon, lead by 22 points at quarter time, 5-2 to 1-4. All games important, certainly those being played this afternoon around the country in round 19. 2 other matches on this afternoon. Replays are scheduled on various networks, so if you don't wish to know the score, if you're not at least ways curious, look away now. John Worsfold charging towards the finals with his Chargers. Some of the old brigade standing close to get the message. Neil Danaher, who spent 2 seasons here as the assistant coach with the Fremantle Dockers, having a bit to say too, and no doubt would be disappointed with his start. Watch this again. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, provided he wasn't across the line. And I don't think he was, because the goal umpire stays active. He watches this off the boot. And from the outside of the boot, Neitz sends it across the line. Now, for that to be a throw, needs to be held. That's my understanding.
There's two rules that we're looking in the rule book here, Dennis. One says when the football is in play, a free kick shall be awarded against a player who throws the football or hands the football to another player. So he hasn't done that.
No.
But the one that might get him says a player shall be deemed to be in possession of the football during the period when the player handballs the football to himself and regains possession without the football touching the ground. If they contravene that law, they'll have a free kick paid against him. So he doesn't handball it to himself, he throws it to himself.
Okay, but that would still be, I think, when you're tackled, wouldn't it? If you've hand passed it to yourself and you're tackled. Anyway, Laura's an ass. What about those numbers, Ben?
Yeah, the inside 50s. Melbourne 5 times more, but their delivery to Neitz has been poor. They need to work on that. And I thought West Coast centre breaks were a lot more dominant. They're getting into a more dangerous position.
Mark Reddings is down on the boundary. Mark?
Yes, with me is Eagles assistant coach Tony McHale. And Tony, a 22-point lead, but Melbourne certainly tested your defence in the first quarter.
Certainly did, Mark. We've just got to make sure we keep moving the ball quickly and use it well. We just turned it over a couple of times when we went in, and that's pretty important that we hit our targets.
Will you continue to try to stretch Melbourne's defence in terms of height?
Oh, we'll try a number of variations, obviously, throughout the course of the game. Hope they work for us.
Thanks, Tony.
Thanks, Mark.
Mark Reddings down on the boundary with Tony McHale. So quarter time, it's 5-2 plays 1-4 for the West Coast Eagles. Singles all to Judd. That was a wonderful running goal after he came on midway through the term. Peter Matera that is. Phillips got one as well, and Lynch. Powell's got the goal for Melbourne as we start this second term. Johnstone, who's tried very hard, hooks this one down towards Melbourne's attacking 50. Getting across is Jakovic at left half back, just chips a pass out. Cousins playing with a lot of confidence. This is Hunter, forward of half back, kicks it down towards half forward, getting across on the angle Sirakoski, but the ball trickles across the boundary line and will be tossed in. Well, Melbourne have got to make their move. As we said, a game they could ill afford to lose last week is hurting them. A loss today will make it very tough. Off the head of White, Fletcher gets a hand pass to Wirrapunda, 55 metres out. Long ball down towards the forward pocket, going back. Lynch juggled it. He's going to get a free kick. Lynch only 15 metres out. Awkward angle for a right footer. But he's got the free as Lamb out of position. Trying to make a contest of it. Not a lot to it, but that left arm straying over the shoulder and maybe an early grab as well. That's probably what did him in, that last bit of action. Lynch, wasting no time, comes in. Gun barrel strike. They've done it again.
I think the player that's causing Melbourne the most problems at the minute is David Wirrapunda. He's getting a lot of free ball. I mean, it was a contest out on the half-forward line, a boundary throw-in, and he's just been able to receive a handball with absolutely no space and just kick it into Lynch, one out. That's all the forward asks. A big power forward especially, he can get front position and try and suck that free kick. But if I was Neil Danaher, I'd be thinking about clamping on David Wirrapunda.
So Quinton Lynch becomes the first multiple goal kicker in the game. Wirrapunda 10 possessions, Woewodin 8, Peter Matera 7 for West Coast. For Melbourne, Travis Johnston's had 11, 6 each to Bizzell, Powell, Robertson and White. Let's head boundary side. Here's Mark Reddings.
Yes, a blow for Melbourne with Peter Vardy off the ground, receiving treatment on his left thigh. And for the Demons' sake, hopefully he can get back out there pretty shortly. But as we speak, receiving plenty of treatment.
Secondary bounce. White got the tap. And as far as Pryor. Pryor goes to Fletcher. Fletcher goes looking for Embley and finds him. First touch for Andrew Embley. He's got a man over the top. Thought about the handball to Fletcher. And thought better of it. Kick missed its target to Peter Matera, but he tidies up. And they'll reload and go again. Take 2 for Andrew Embley. Goes looking for Gardner. And he takes the mark 65 metres from goal. The lead comes from Lynch. Ignores that. Philip Matera is at the top of the goal square. Kerr's deep as well. Gardner will thump it long in that direction. It'll drop short. They attack it from all directions. Whelan flew high for Melbourne. At ground level, Godfrey to Uze. Uze in the direction of Cameron Bruce, and he takes the mark just backward to centre wing. Drags the kick across his body cleverly to Ward. Sets up the loose man. He goes over the top to Powell. Powell runs to 60 metres out, goes looking for Neitz. The ball just sat up. Neitz got plenty of it. Was he dragged down in the contest? He certainly appeared to be. Play on. Comes to Armstrong. He had his kick smothered by Michael Pryor. And he runs it to the line.
And a player of Stephen Powell's ability, I know it was a reasonable kick to Neitz, but it just sat up a little bit and just gave McIntosh enough time to put a bit of body weight on Neitz. It was may have been a free kick, but Powell should have just slotted that down Neitz's throat.
Throw in. Demons need a spark. Will it be the skipper, Neitz? Couldn't get away with the football. Hunter emerges, gives it to Peter Matera. Dribbles it around the boundary line. White to Johnston. Possession number 12 for Travis Johnston. Kick towards the 50. He's picked off by Colliker. He sets Cousins a task. Puts it out in front of he and Godfrey. Cousins gathers. Godfrey runs him down. So he uses his support. It's Fletcher. Fletcher can go over the top to Weir Punda. Just has to get past Bizzle and does. Runs to 75 metres out. Kick towards the centre half forward. Philip Matera stages for the free kick. It's picked up by Walsh. Walsh goes to Wheatley. He steps inside Weir Punda and settles things down with a short pass to Nathan Brown.
Brown out wide, close to the boundary. This is Powell. Melbourne looking slightly better. Comes back to Brown. Finding a little more space. White on the overlap. Goes down towards half forward. Banfield couldn't reach it. Uze brilliantly done, then gave it away. Pryor was surprised. In trouble. Down he goes. Back to Banfield. Jams it on the boot. Around the outer side. Terrific leap by Wheatley. Interesting player. Melbourne lead the league in W's. Ward, Woewodin, Wheatley, White, Walsh, Whelan. Hoping for something in the W column this afternoon. Goes in short. Powell. Armstrong. In my imagination, was his hair looking younger this afternoon. He goes back to Wheatley. Wheatley kicks inside the 50. McIntosh juggles the mark in front. Well played.
He of the old hair. Goes to Cousins. He's run down. Holding the ball.
Yeah, just tried to do a bit too much, didn't he? Try to create from deep in his defensive half. Adam Hunter was on his own and he tried to thread the eye of the needle as it was. Good pressure from Robertson. Nice tackle from behind. Or the side it was actually. Should be Godfrey's kick, I would have thought. I would have thought he was the main tackler in that incident. But give it to the forward.
I think he's happy to sneak away, Simon Godfrey. Hasn't scored all year, only kicked 2 in his career. Here's Russell Robertson from 40 metres out directly in front. And he converts. Melbourne get their second.
Well, I think at least you can see what Melbourne are trying to do and what their game style is. They're waiting for someone to pop up in general play. They're not kicking to a 50-50 ball. And they're giving David Neitz a lot of space. I mean, McIntosh has been pretty good on Neitz one out. But he's been helped a fair bit by the amount of poor disposal. But that's just a good tackle, a good team tackle from Godfrey and Robinson. Just retain the ball in the area and good finish. Melbourne got to continue to do that to try and get back into this game.
So the margin back to 22 points. Ordinary bounce in the middle, favoured White. Got the tap down into the path of Powell. Tried to get the hands free, flipped it over the top. Casey Green got in there and created some space for Peter Matera. He won the ball, got it to Cox, and Cox goes towards Cousins. In the centre of the ground, Ben Cousins. 8th possession coming up for him. Just looks up and assesses his options. Not sure where to go at the moment. Melbourne are flooded back in numbers. Goes towards the forward 50. Coming out and taking the mark on his chest was Nathan Brown. Goes to the run of Travis Johnston. Possession number 13 for him. Runs through the back edge of the centre square. Some shepherding from Bizzle. Goes looking for Robertson. Tried to take it on his chest. Hunter got the fist away. Godfrey at ground level. Tried to find a teammate, but only found Ben Cousins. He can sweep a handball over the top. Here's a chance for Cox. Runs with the ball. Goes inside 50. Philip Matera is his target. It clears the contest. Lamb at the back. Turns Lynch inside out. Uses Walsh. Throws it over the top to Whelan, to Wheatley, to White. Where's Woewodin? Here's Liancelli. Back to Walsh. Walsh to Brown. Off the back edge of the centre square. Brown straight up the middle of the ground looking for Bruce. On the half volley, tried to get it to Powell. Another turnover, it comes to West Coast and Colliker to Jakovic. Out wide to Williams. Williams runs to 55 metres out. Goes long towards goal, but misses to the right-hand side for a minor score.
Peter Vardy limbering up as the kick comes into Leoncelli to Wheatley. Goes out wide to Brown. Something good should come of this. Metres in the clear. Decides to kick it. Well, that's okay. Gets it to Bruce. There was nobody up ahead of him. He could have run with the football. Bruce about 60 metres out. Centering kick. Pryor trying to get in the hole. Over the top Armstrong. And he's paid the mark. Stephen Armstrong only 35 metres out. Slight angle.
It's a good setup though, isn't it, from their point kick-ins. Nice take from Armstrong. He kept his eye on the footy, but a couple of times when they've been kicking the ball in, they've been able to get someone free out on the wing. Brown was the recipient of the ball on that occasion and had to be a goal-scoring opportunity when he had that much space.
Huge kick this one. Melbourne working back into it. They've got their third. West Coast 6-3, Melbourne 3-4.
As I said, a good setup from the half-back line. I'm not quite sure how they're doing that, Melbourne. Bruce is the interesting matchup. He's playing at centre-half forward. I think he was going for Neitz, but Armstrong's just snuck in and pinched that ball off him. But Bruce on Jakovic, they're trying to expose Jakovic's mobility. He's taken a couple of marks on the lead on Jakovic in this quarter, and no doubt he'll be the target man because you'd expect Bruce to be able to beat him to the ball on the lead.
So the Demons fighting back here at Subiaco. The margin back to 17 points. Just under 13 minutes remaining till half-time. White got the tap only as far as Cousins. Cousins with vision got it out to Fletcher. Fletcher to Pryor. He chips it over the top to Colliker. He can take it and go. Tries to run away from Ward. Kick towards the 50 is a good one. And it finds Embley out on the lead. 60 metres from goal. Chips it over the top. Lynch is the target. Can only get one hand free. Umpire was on the right side of that contest to pick out the free kick. Chris Lamb not happy with the decision, but it will go to Quinton Lynch. He's already kicked 2 goals.
And there didn't look like there was much in that one as well, but the thing about it is Lynch is in the front position. If there's ever a free kick given in a one-on-one like that, it always goes to the forward if he retains the front spot.
May have actually been once the ball arrived, and then he seemed to sort of drag him down to one side.
And Jeff White just coming off for a breather, and he's got his work cut out. He's got to take on Cox and Gardner today. Jolly has come on to give him a reprieve.
So Lynch, 14 goals, 9 in his 8-game career. Debuted in round 12 against the Blues. From 48 metres out, here's a thumping kick. Went straight, but just to the wrong side of the post for West Coast. A minor score. They move to 6-4-40. 3 goals clear of Melbourne, who are 3-4-22. Midway through the second term.
Bizzle needs to be precise, and he was. This is Whelan in the back pocket. Woewodin is short. Plays on now to Brown. Brown chips it out wide. Ward close to the boundary line, goes to half forward. Bruce, juggled attempt at the mark, spills across the line. It'll be tossed in, but nice movement from the Demons again. And the Eagles just need to be careful here. At one end, not taking their chances, and Melbourne getting more of it and looking better. Must-win game. Peter Matera flies from behind and thumps it back across the boundary line. On the bounce. Time remaining till half-time. Jeff White taking a breather. So Jolly is out there. Cox and Jolly, 2 young tyros, lock up. Cox with a backhander. Armstrong, looping hand pass over the top, releases Ward. Can he get away? Has, runs to 50, likes the situation, kicks, and I think he's got it, has he? Yes!
Great play from Armstrong, wasn't Leoncelli coming off for a break, but he just had the ability to understand where the space for Ward was. He knew it was he was the recipient of that great little handball, Ward, and he had the ability to run forward and take the game on, but Armstrong, good play in tight congestion to give it to his more experienced teammate.
It's all about efficiency at the moment for Melbourne. They went inside 50 15 times in the opening term for 1 goal. In this second term, they've only gone in 4 times but kicked 3 goals. Just looking a lot more potent in their own forward half at the moment.
Melbourne got 7 forwards at the minute.
Cox in the ruck against Jolly. Got the tap, Jolly, beautifully done. Down to Walsh. Walsh to Johnston. Johnston goes inside 50 looking for Neitz. Well, that's what we're talking about, Ben. Better delivery inside 50.
How much difference does it make when David Neitz is receiving lace-out passes like that? Had the luxury to even mark that ball on his chest. Not too many forwards in the AFL have been able to do that this year. Mark the ball on the chest when McIntosh is on your hammer.
He's kicked 59 goals for the season. Kick on its way. It is a beautiful kick from the skipper. And Melbourne are fighting back at Subiaco. David Neitz gets his first. Melbourne have got 4 for the term. And suddenly the margin back to just 6 points.
And it all came from the centre, didn't it? Travis Johnson just running through the half-forward line, basically with no pressure. He's a right-foot kick and he's decided to kick that on his left. That's a great action from Neitz. There's nothing too complicated about it. No, not too many moving parts. That's why he is a consistent set shot at goal.
Remarkable transformation. The Demons edged to within 6 points. Bounce back in the middle. Jolly comes hard, beaten by Cox though. Slapped out of there and running onto the football. Ward did both things. Kicks it up wide. Bruce, has he got it? He almost got a free. Jakovic reaches over the top and ties it up. Good result for the Eagles.
They're starting to be dominant in the centre bounce since the White has come off, and also Gardner. Jolly's done a pretty good job in there, and the small men of Melbourne in the middle of the ground have been getting the ball out. So good change from Danaher's point of view. Good structure set up in there.
The margin was 22 points at quarter time. Brown got it from Cox, 75 metres out. Neitz on the lead, could have been pushed. Well, no free. Hunter again, touch and go. Hunter to McIntosh from half back. Kicks it very high towards the wing. Ward, wonderful attempt in front. He's going to get a free kick. Did well. Running with the flight of it. Just contorting his body in front. Not much to that one either. Brown's got it. Johnston started so well. Kept them in it initially. Gets a hand pass away to Woewodin. Woewodin settles from inside the centre square. Neitz will fly. Jakovic got a fist on it. Philip Matera in front of the pack. Hooks it up towards the wing. Trapped there by Lynch. Goes to Gardner. Walsh can't get there in time. Gardner goes to half-forward. Sirakoski dropped the mark. Now Cox metres in the clear inside the 50. Just as well for Melbourne. And you can see the Melbourne players pointing back to Cox. The Eagles didn't get that ball because Cox was the only man, and he was 20 metres deep inside the forward 50. So Wheatley goes across to him now. And the umpire just indicating he wants a bit of room. Gardner to do the rucking here opposed to Jolly. Jolly works him out of it. Flying over the top, Woewodin taken by Kerr. This is Fletcher in trouble. Peter Matera trying to step around Johnston. Dragged down. Goes back to Fletcher. Hurriedly around the corner. Walsh got fingertips to it. Sirakoski tried to give it across to Kerr. Kerr goes after it. That could be holding the footy. No. We'll have a ball up on the wing.
Gee, the work rate's up. Isn't Dennis, I reckon in the first quarter they were getting beaten in the one-on-ones, the contested possessions. There's a bit going on in there. Powell will play on, but they're just starting to be dominant in the physical side of the game this last 10 minutes. Melbourne.
Tackle 6-1 this quarter in favour of the Demons, says it all. Philip Matera goes inside 50. Bizzle goes back with courage. Cousins came crashing through. Bizzle wins the ball, gets it to Lamb. Wheatley breaks to the outer side. He's got Woewodin further afield if he goes to him now, and he does.
Kick.
Just had a couple of metres on Fletcher. Beautiful kick from Woewodin. He's a left footer, so he couldn't play on. Had to stop and prop. Chips a little right foot kick towards Whelan. Jakovic tries to run him down. Whelan turns him inside out. And that's Jakovic's man, Bruce. And he marks 40 metres out. Jakovic just drawn to that contest.
Yeah, well, smart play from Whelan and also Bruce to suck back into that open space. He knew Whelan was capable of taking Jakovic on and running around him. But fantastic release from defence from Wheatley onto Woewodin's chest. He's a beautiful kick. I didn't realise he was such a prodigious kick, I should say. Wheatley, a fantastic kick on him.
Bruce from 48 metres out, tight angle. He's right on the boundary line.
Oh.
Everything is going Melbourne's way in the second term. And Cameron Bruce kicks another one.
I don't reckon there's too many players in the AFL who can... That was Woewodin, who was a recipient of Wheatley's kick, and that set up that forward sortie for Melbourne. And look at Whelan just taking Djakovic on then. Good play. Bruce just doubles back in defence. And a good finish from Bruce in the end. Not too many players, I don't reckon, that can play on Richardson 1 week and then line up at centre-half forward and take on Glenn Djakovic. Bruce is one of the most versatile players in the AFL.
You mentioned Paul Wheatley's kicking. It is a feature of his game. Can kick it regularly 55, 60 metres out. Got unusually long legs, actually, Paul Wheatley. Very quick runner and a thumping kick.
Scores a level. Gardner goes up and knocks it down. Fletcher to Judd. High ball to half forward. In front, Cox knocks it down to his own advantage. Well played by the big man. Running out of support. Brown had him. Brown goes again and escorts Chambers across the line. So it'll be tossed in. He was very influential in that victory at the Gabba. In that game we talked of earlier that is reminiscent of this one. Jolly slips it away to Powell, to Johnston. Running the Eagles at the moment. Kicks to half forward. Awkward half volley. Vardy brilliantly done to Woewodin. Steps to 50. Vacant square. Goes long. Goal! Melbourne on fire.
That's extraordinary. Just Johnson from that ball up, or was it a boundary throw in deep in defence again? They're just killing him, the West Coast Eagles, this quarter from... But look at Vardy, great little handball and smart play from Woewodin. Just got front and centre, just got into an area where he could receive an easy handball from Vardy, who was on his hands and knees. And good finish from 50.
So 6 goals to 1 this quarter in favour of the Demons. And they've kicked the last 6 unanswered goals of the game, including 4 in the last 9 minutes. And they trailed it by 22 points at quarter time. They now lead by goal. Back in the middle. West Coast need to stem the flow and start getting the momentum back their way, but it's Ward. Just thumps a ball towards 50. 2 up for West Coast. Djakovic got the timely fist. Bruce or Powell at ground level. Steps inside Djakovic. Runs to 50. Stephen Powell unloads for goal. It's another one! Sensational! 7 goals to 1 this quarter in favour of the Demons. And they've kicked 5 goals in 10 minutes. Amazing.
And again, another Melbourne player just receiving the ball about 60 metres out with no pressure. Just the West Coast midfielders, I don't reckon, are getting back hard enough. If you're taking on a run on, which is what West Coast are doing at the minute, you've got to play defensively. You've got to run back hard and do those negative things and just calm things down. They need to just play man-on-man footy for the rest of this quarter, West Coast.
John Worsfold looking worried, a veteran of 21 finals, looking to go back to the finals as a coach. Judd got it out. Johnston wrestled down, and the umpire wants it.
As you mentioned, Dennis, 1 goal in the first term from 15 inside 50s. Ben, this quarter they've gone inside 10 times for 7 straight goals. That's an amazing conversion.
Yeah, they haven't lost anything through having Jolly in the ruck as well. He's been fantastic.
When they're going, Melbourne, very exciting. And they're going just for the moment. Fletcher, with other ideas, does nicely. Kicks his team down towards half-forward. Sierakowski couldn't control it. Bizzle leads back in the race. Sierakowski did brilliantly. Bizzle robbed him of the football, diving in his Cox. And a whistle.
It was a good initial starting position from Bizzle. Then he was starting about 2 metres in front of Sierakowski. The ball went over his head, but it made Sierakowski's attack on the ball pretty hard. So he knows what he's doing one-on-one, man-on-man, Bizzle.
Jolly thumps it towards the boundary line. Melbourne needed to stay in, it won't. Johnston and Powell leading the race. Let's go down to Mark Reddings on the boundary. Mark, what news?
Melbourne coach Neil Danaher said before the match he'd like to come over here and silence the crowd, turn it into silent Subiaco. Well, you could hear a pin drop down here at ground level.
Powell over the football. Kerr had it knocked away by Ward. Uze came hard, going after it, Whelan. Uze brilliantly done. Breathtaking stuff. Got it away to Ward. Goes to half forward. Jakovic needed to come, did. Behind though, Robertson to Bruce. Bruce kicks inside the 50, stretching Neitz. And Neitz has taken this mark. Sharp angle, about 15 metres in from the line, but only 35 metres out.
Now put him down, Dennis, but fantastic play from Cameron Bruce. He's gone to that ball on the half-forward line, one out with Jakovic, but his recovery was about twice as good as Jakovic. The ball went behind both players. He swooped on it and received an easy handball. Fantastic pass to his skipper.
Neitz. Has he got the accuracy? He's riding at home. Hit the post halfway up. He knew it was tight. A reprieve there for the West Coast Eagles. Mind you, they've blown a few chances in this term. Easier ones than that. Pryor to bring it back in. And the margin at 13 points. Melbourne 8-5. West Coast 6-4. Running down to half-time. Big crowd at Subi. This was going to be, you can see the time remaining, 4:25. This was going to be a giant step towards the finals. Hopefully their 11th win for the home crowd. Well, at the moment, put that on hold. Banfield kicked it up towards the wing. This is Kerr. Little chip towards half forward. Cox. Good hard leading.
Dishes off to Kerr, who continued to run for him. He squares it up, looking for Lynch. He'll fly over the top. It's Williams. The ball hits the ground. Again, Melbourne with numbers at ground level. Walsh. Handball's a little dangerous. Whelan tidied it up for him. Did well. Finds Powell. Powell to Wheatley. Wheatley's kick looking for Lee and Shelley. Embley over the top. Finds the boundary line. This tempo has just lifted in the last couple of minutes. West Coast need to fight back. They had a 22-point lead at quarter time. They now trail by 13 points. Ball over the back of the ruck contest. There's a free kick off the ball for holding. It's going the way of Ben Cousins against Simon Godfrey. Cousins wants to move it quickly, squares it up to Banfield. Banfield goes looking for Williams through his hands. Walsh again at ground level to Brown. Underground handball, sets up Powell. Slow to get rid of it. Socket out of there by Brown. Brown to Godfrey. Godfrey by hand to Lee and Shelley, and he's away on the wing. Goes looking for Neitz on the long lead. Neitz through his hands at the back. Vardy versus Colliker. Vardy sockers and keeps it alive. Sockers again. It's across the goal face and dribbles towards the line for a throw in.
I think one player that epitomises what's happened to his club today is David Wirapunda. He started the first quarter in sensational fashion. I think he had the 10 possessions. He's only had one possession this quarter. No, he spent a bit of time on the bench. They're waiting to come back on, but they need him to get his hands on the footy.
Neitz backhands it towards Lee and Shelley. Judd over the top of the ball. Wrapped up by Vardy. We'll have a bounce 15 metres out from the Melbourne goal. There's Wirapunda coming back into the play, replacing Andrew Williams. So 7 unanswered goals to Melbourne. We've turned this game on its ear. Wirapunda being picked up by Walsh, who's been great in this second term. McIntosh got the tap straight down to Vardy. Dangerous in this situation. Ball ricochets off hands and legs and through for a rush behind to the Demons. So the margin 14 points, 8-6 to 6-4. And Michael Pryor with the kick in. West Coast got the opening goal of the second term through Quinton Lynch. It came at the 2-minute mark. We've now gone 27 minutes. And in that time, Melbourne have kicked 7 unanswered goals. Casey Green towards the wing. Whelan got it to ground level. Ward to run onto it. To Powell. Handball just out in front of Brown, but he's got time to go and pick it up. Spears to 50 and finds Bruce. So Nathan Brown just a bit proppy behind Cameron Bruce.
Yeah, just caught one when he passed that to Bruce. I'd back him in. He's got a fair kick on him, hasn't he, Bruce? Someone should go up and say, have a shot when we're hot.
It.
Absolutely.
Just needs to go back a bit off the mark if he's going to really give it a launch. Off a couple of steps, just puts it up to the top of the square. We've got some marking power in there, and Robertson and Neitz at ground level. Colliker tries to work Vardy off it. Neitz works Colliker off it. And they take it to the line. Fletcher takes it out, and we'll have a throw in.
Adam Uze, by his standards, well held so far in this game. Looking on, boundary throw in, forward pocket, remarkable come from behind effort by Melbourne in the second quarter. Now, of course, the question hangs in the air. Can they go on with it? This crowd supporting the Eagles. The chant around the ground. They've developed that this season. Under the ball was Woewodin. Kerr has been very good. Hand passes out wide. Chance for Banfield. Strong tackle by Neitz, got him down. Goalkicker running out of space. Green likewise. Well done. Got it to Judd. Great tackling by Melbourne. He was dragged down in turn. Gardner's hand pass. Back towards Banfield. Woewodin, clever hands. Got it to Powell. It was smothered down there by Pryor. Spills across towards Brown. Now a hand pass to Jolly. Steps around Judd. A centering kick. Goalkicker should punch from behind Robertson. Big leap. This is Green. Lays it off. Hunter inside the last minute of the term. Pulls it back for Woewodin. He's tied up on the wing. Woewodin goes back to Embley. Embley across the ground. Kerr is running down. Coming up the other way though is Philip Matera. You saw the legs of Kerr go scooting past. He's got it now on the 50. The Eagles need a goal. High ball. Could have been some hanging on down there. Godfrey got back and thumped it against the post for a behind. End-to-end stuff at Subi. Taking a breather at the other end. Meanwhile, the tackle that wasn't rewarded. Strong tackle by Neitz. A feature of that play in the forward pocket. Ward to Brown. Back come Melbourne, straight down the middle. Neitz in front, juggled attempt at the mark. Robertson came hard, tackled down. Armstrong. Robertson didn't have the footy. That's the call. He'll get the free kick 40 metres out.
And they've basically gone coast to coast there, Dennis. Another example of them getting loose players out on the wing from a point kick in. It's a fantastic little set play. Not quite sure what the West Coast Eagles players are doing. They're probably saying it's not my man, I won't go to him, but if he's in blue and red, you go to him anyway. That's a great team structure to get it down there so quickly.
Well, this to round out a magnificent quarter from from Melbourne. Robertson's kicked 1-1. This is his 9th possession coming up. Right on half-time. Robertson tumbles the kick, spun the wrong way, and missed to the right-hand side for a behind. But that second term was all Melbourne. They added 7 goals 3 to West Coast 1 goal 3 to turn a 22-point deficit into a 14-point lead.
And I think that look from John Worsfold said it all. Spun on his heel and headed out of the coach's box. He's got some stern talking to do at halftime.
Half-time here at Subiaco, and if you've ducked out for 20 minutes and just returned, don't adjust your set. That is the actual score. Melbourne 8-7-55, West Coast 6-5-41. The margin 14 points at half-time after West Coast led by 22 points at quarter-time. They kicked 5 goals to 1 in the opening term, West Coast, and then kicked the opening goal of the second term, Ben Allen, through Quinton Lynch. We weren't to see what was going to follow, and then Melbourne just unleashed 7 unanswered goals, including 5 in 11 minutes there midway through the term.
It was an amazing turnaround, wasn't it? So Jeff White goes off the ground and Jolly comes in and had an impact in the middle of the ground. I thought he was fantastic, but they just had an even spread. Young Stephen Armstrong came onto the ground in the second quarter, was pretty good, but they just couldn't allow West Coast any possession. I mean, Johnston's been fantastic, up around 16 possessions. Good sign as well. Neitz only kicking 1 goal, and they had such a power quarter of Melbourne. Fantastic quarter, I reckon the best quarter I've seen this year.
They had 30 inside 50s. It's amazing. They had 15 in the first quarter for 1 goal, 15 in the second quarter for 7 goals. It just says it all, really. In that first term, Neitz was presenting himself. The kicking inside 50 was terrible. In that second quarter, it all just seemed to open up, and that came from running through the midfield, the likes of Powell, Johnstone, Brown and co.
And you're right, the quality of the disposal was so much better in that second quarter than the first quarter. Neitz had probably 5 opportunities to receive an easy ball in that first quarter, and the ball either hit the deck or went over his head. And the second quarter completely turned around. I don't know if they changed the footy or not, but it was an attitude thing, probably a combination of both. But they looked clean, they looked quick, and the other element of it was their tackle rate was up in that second quarter as well.
So for John Worsfold, everything was going beautifully in the opening term. They kicked 5 goals to 1. Lynch was looking dangerous. Philip Matera was looking particularly dangerous. and it was all one-way traffic in the opening term.
Yeah, they're two sort of power forwards in Lynch and Sirakoski. On paper, you'd think they could get an advantage there, West Coast, but reckon the Melbourne defenders have stuck to their task. They've been assisted in the Melbourne midfielders getting down there and running into the holes and not allowing so much space for the West Coast forward line. But yeah, I just think it's just been a fantastic team effort. I mean, Judd was great early.
Brilliant goal, this one, wasn't
just
it?
come onto the ground and had an impact straight away. A fantastic find for West Coast. They need more of that in the second quarter. Wirrapunda needs to have an impact in the second half as well.
9 touches in the first, just 2 in the second quarter. David Wirrapunda. Look at the match stats to half-time. Again, you can't really read a lot into those. It's more, you look at that bottom stat, the inside 50s, 30 to 21. It's just what Melbourne did with it when they got it inside 50 in the second term that really turned this game on its head.
Yeah, their efficiency inside 50 in the second quarter was completely different to the first quarter. They completely changed that around. West Coast got some worrying signs. It's very difficult to stop a club when they get such a run on like Melbourne did. And the other thing that Melbourne got going from, they got Jeff White and Jolly, I reckon, rotating on and off the bench. And Jeff White could be the trump card for Melbourne in the second half.
Well, we know Melbourne can score goals quickly. They've at least timed their run better. In the last couple of weeks, they've left it until too late to score goals in a hurry and come charging into the game. Question remains, can they go on with it in the second half? Their half-time lead is 14 points. We're back after the break with Dennis Cometti. He'll be joined by former Demon and Eagle, Andy Lovell.
Amazing transformation here at Subiaco Oval. Melbourne by 14 points at the major break after they trailed by 22 points at quarter time. It's 6-5 the West Coast, and Melbourne 7 goals in that second term, and you can see have suddenly jumped up to be 8-7. Joined now by Andy Lovell from the West Coast Eagles, but a former Melbourne player. What the heck happened in that second quarter?
Yeah, Dennis, pretty disappointing. We had a really good start, and I think Melbourne were a bit harder at the footy. I think they beat us around the stoppages, and they were able to get their hands on the ball first, and consequently we were under pressure in the back half. And when we did tend to go forward, unfortunately we had no one inside 50 that could take a mark, and our small forwards weren't crumbing like they should. So, but I think generally it gets back to being accountable, but winning the ball at the stoppages, and I think they did that very well.
I would imagine you've still got a soft spot for Melbourne. They played very well in that second quarter. That was some of the best football I've seen this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, they're a very hard running side, and they rotate their midfielders pretty well. I've got a soft spot for them. Melbourne player from the past, but today she's.
You're working the bench today.
Absolutely.
What's your role down there?
Yeah, look, I'm on the headsets up to the assistant coaches, and I do matchups on the bench. So when a player goes onto the ground, he sees me, sees who he is going on to, and what role he has to play.
Okay, what's the matchup today that's causing you most pain?
I think Powell in the midfield's been very, very good for them. He
was good back in round 4 too, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he had 35 plus possessions then. So we looked at him and thought, well, he's a key player in their midfield. And again today, he's bobbed up and he continually gets hold of the footy. So he's the one that we're a bit worried about.
Just tell me, how frustrating is this travel thing as far as the Eagles are concerned? In your day, it didn't seem so important.
No, that's right. Look, I think the competition's so much more even, and I think given that, I just feel that because they're so even, that it really does create a bit of an advantage for the side that doesn't have to travel.
These were very good Eagles teams, we've got to say, they weren't they?
Absolutely. Look, and you're right, it comes down to talent as well. I really do believe that, if you're a super good side and you're a little bit better than the opposition, you will handle the travel a lot better.
Okay, so what about this game? Can the Eagles get back on top, get the matchups right, do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Look, I think one of the key elements with us this year has been our fighting qualities, and I think the boys know the importance of the game. And look, we need to regroup at half time, get our matchups right, but more importantly, get our hands on the footy in the middle.
Thanks for coming in, Andy.
Pleasure.
Facing a fight, certainly. 14 points down, the West Coast Eagles. Melbourne on top. We'll be back with the second half right after this. amazing game so far. The West Coast Eagles own the first quarter. The second one belonged to the Demons. 5 goals to 1 in the first quarter, and then 7 goals to 1 in the second quarter as we take you down to Mark Reddings.
Yes, thanks, Dennis. Joining me is Australian Test opener Justin Langer. And Justin, let's get the politics out of the way first. I guess the family's pretty happy you're not going to Pakistan.
Yeah, look, it's nice to have the speculation finished. At least we know that we're not going to Pakistan, but hopefully we'll play in a neutral venue. As Gilly said a little while ago before, if it's cancelled, it's one less test you can play for Australia. So hopefully we'll play Pakistan somewhere.
Let's talk football. You're a mad Eagles man. You had a training run with them during this week. How'd you go?
Oh, it was one of the best afternoons of my life. It was like a kid at Christmas. Kicked a few goals. Could have kicked another one, but Phil Matera didn't handball it to me, so I was a bit disappointed about that. But yeah, it was a great afternoon.
The Eagles are 14 points down and some vision of you training. They might need you out there in the second half. Any advice? Let's cast you as a coach for a moment.
Oh, look, they probably just work hard like they did in the first quarter, and they've got so many talented players, good experience. I think they're a very good side.
Justin, thanks for that. Best of luck for the upcoming season. The Ashes series not far away.
Thanks, Mark.
Justin Langer there with Mark Reddings. Half-time, 14 points the difference. 2 other games being played this afternoon, both of them, as we said, important to the composition of the top 8 and in fact the top 4. Let's check them. If you don't want to know the scores, look away now. It's good to know they're playing at Colonial, Judge.
It's good to know they're playing, Dennis. They got that game away. Now, interesting couple of stats here, Ben. West Coast have won just 2 of their last 8 second halves, so they haven't finished their games too well. Melbourne, on the other hand, have lost just 1 of their last 7 second halves, so they have finished games well. As we've said, though, they usually save their withering bursts for the last quarter. They've done it a bit early today. Yeah, it's interesting. The other thing I picked up, that the power forwards from West Coast, Lynch and Sirakoski, they're only have taken 1 mark between them. Ball not quite getting into their area enough. I think they need to isolate a forward. Maybe Phil Matera. He looked pretty dangerous early on in the match on Whelan, who was reasonably attacking from that back pocket. But they need a forward to take a few grabs at West Coast.
And Ben, looking at that draw, we touched on it before the game started. Brisbane at the Gabba, Port Adelaide at Subiaco, and the Kangaroos at Canberra. I mean, if they can't win this one this afternoon, the West Coast Eagles, their chances of playing in the finals really deteriorate, don't they?
Oh, I think their season is on the line right now, Dennis. They need to win this game. They need to put that second quarter behind them in a lot of ways, try and get their forward line set up. But the other thing that the main thing they didn't do in that second quarter was get their hands on the footy. Melbourne just dominated around the stoppages.
Umpires this afternoon, James, Rosebery and Ellis. There's Ben Cousins, 11 possessions so far. Pretty well held. Godfrey provides a hard tag, certainly. Cousins averaging 24 possessions a game this season. Last season he averaged 27. In 2000 it was 25. In 99 it was 23. A model of consistency. Neitz on the forward line. Dangerous. Hasn't exacted full toll. Started the 3rd term at Subi. Gardner came hard. Beaten by White, who slapped it down. Goes on to apply a tackle on Banfield, who defiantly shrugs off Godfrey. Finds White on the way back, and will have a bounce alongside the centre circle. Chris Judd got a wonderful running goal in that first term, starting this 3rd quarter as he did the first. Looking on, Banfield kicks inside the 50. Sirakoski couldn't trap it, spills wide. Plenty of Melbourne players. Wheatley ran into a dead end, and that ball is locked in there, not coming out. Spun out of one tackle into another, so a bounce about 45 metres out from the attacking goal. The breeze just picking up slightly, still not strong, blowing right to left, but wouldn't be worth very much at all.
Free kick here, Dennis.
And it's going Melbourne's way, off the ball.
Yep.
To Godfrey, the tagger. Bizzle running up the ground, forward of half-back, looks towards half-forward, confidence growing all the time. Peter Matera got back in the hole, knocked it away. Ward Sockers off the ground, inside the 50. Now a chance for Vardy. Still Vardy, over the top Vardy, open goal, Woewodin. That's the start they wanted.
Well, that goal resultant of 2 acts of just basic fundamentals in football. Fantastic play. I think it was Ward that just socketed the ball forward initially to this contest. And Vardy, all he did was persist. There was a loose ball across the half-forward line. He got back on the ball, a second and third effort. And Woewodin, the recipient of some basic fundamentals from the Melbourne side. Great start to this third term for them.
It's an amazing transformation over this game. That's 8 goals straight for the Demons since West Coast scored their last goal 1 minute into the second term. At that stage, it was West Coast by 28 points. It's now Melbourne by 20. Johnstone and Banfield go after it, put their bodies on the line. Godfrey to White, to Woewodin. Straight up the middle of the ground.
It's too easy.
Bruce over the top. Here's Woewodin again. It's Powell. Shoots at goal. Misses to the right-hand side. But Benishasay, not a lot of pressure coming out of the centre square there.
No, the signs are ominous. Melbourne just getting their hands on the ball. And West Coast, as they say in the classics, are just chasing butt. They've done it for the whole of that second term. They certainly haven't started this quarter with any conviction.
Don't know what classics you've been watching, but the ball goes outside defensive 50. Through the hands of McIntosh. Hunter at the back. Cousins under pressure, got a couple to beat. Godfrey got into his back. And Banfield takes it to the boundary line. Nathan Brown leads this game possessions-wise. He's had 18, including 13 in the second term. Travis Johnston has 16. Powell 15, Wheatley 13, Woewodin 12. The throw in. Neitz got the tap. Pryor held when he didn't have possession. And he'll take the free kick. Fletcher's had 13 possessions for West Coast, 11 each to Cousins, Kerr, Peter Matera and Weirpunda, who had 9 in the first term, just 2 in the second term for David Weirpunda. Needs to get back into the game. Jakovic dropped what he should have taken. Had time and space. Went towards the wing. There is Weirpunda. Flashed across the screen. Ball picked up by Bizzle. Injects it back inside 50. Goalkickers stood underneath it. Well done. He did enough to win himself the free kick. Gardner breaks towards the outer side. Wooden's out there as well. He goes to Wooden. Wooden looks up and can go to Gardner. White comes across to hold him up. Judd runs forward to the ball. Receives now. He can run away from Jeff White. Chris Judd runs to 70 metres out. Squares it up looking for Emily. Punched away by Nathan Brown. Ball at ground level. Chance for the Demons through Walsh. Run off half back again for Melbourne. Armstrong just took a little bit too long. Got one in the back from Emily. And young Stephen Armstrong returning to his home state. He's recruited from Perth, playing his 9th game for the Demons this afternoon. He was their 2nd draft pick in last year's draft, taken at 25 overall.
Johnston, Whelan, got there slowly. Peter Matera didn't. Now a chance for Walsh. Gets a hand pass away. Johnston in trouble. Shrugs a tackle. Well, almost Matera was terrific and a bit stiff. Ward out against the boundary line. Goes down towards half forward. Hunter, something happening off the ball.
Free kick to Peter Matera. Dennis behind the play.
Well, he probably deserved one moments ago anyway. It's coming back to him now. No substitute for hard work. That was terrific. Now watch this again. Well, may have happened a little bit earlier than that.
Yeah, the umpire signalled he grabbed him on the leg. It retarded way off the footy. It was a bit before that incident.
Yeah, as they were getting up, I'd suggest, because they both went to the ground. Peter Matera kicks inside the 50. Barely. Godfrey did well. Closed on the angle. Goes to Armstrong. Awkward one. Melbourne, aided by that deflection, came to Brown, to Lamb. Running out of support to Wheatley. Need to be careful here, the D's. Oh, a daisy cutter. Armstrong. Play on's the call. Didn't get 15. Back it comes to Wheatley. In trouble. Slick hands away to Whelan. They're combining well. Looping hand pass to Powell. Broadens things. Goes to Ward. Whelan continues to run. Brilliant. Brown. Probing kick inside the 50. Neitz off hands. Awkward for Goalkicker. Comes back to him though. Gets a kick out of there. He got it from Hunter. This is Banfield. Kerr. Wooden. Racy stuff, end-to-end, jump through the middle, kicks down towards half forward, well, across the ground more correctly. Weirpunda 75 metres out, centering kick, gives it to Lynch, who's a thumping kick. Maybe not beyond him. It'll test him. He'll kick from about 60 out. Melbourne, their chance down the outer side, and the counter punch came from the Eagles. Johnston comes off, Leoncelli is back on. 62, plays 41. Early going third term. Sunday football at Subiaco Oval. Just a terrific day for footy. Sierakowski off the ground. Chambers comes back on. Lynch gets onto it. Gives it a ride. Massive kick. Straight through the middle. He's got 3.
Well, great finish from Lynch, and gee, the ball was going from end to end. You called it right there, Dennis. And when that's happening in general play, no one grabbing hold of the ball deep in their forward zone. You just need someone with a bit of poise. And well, this bloke showed some poise from 55. He's known the team and his club is reliant on him, not only this match but this season, of kicking that goal. Great composure for a young player in his first year.
So West Coast get their first goal in more than a quarter of football. And the margin back to 15 points. Cousins, the home side just lifting now to Fletcher. They're defending their proud record at Subiaco this year, haven't lost to a visitor. Handball back to Fletcher, came from Kerr. Inside 50, here's Lynch again. Bizzle came across the front of the lead, did well, put his body on the line for his side. Whelan to Wheatley, gets it out wide, and the mark taken by Uze. Uze around the wing, Leoncelli's got some space. Looks to run away from Peter Matera. Will thump it inside 50. Robertson looks around, realises he's got to go. Vardy there as well. Woewodin at the back. Ball still alive. Godfrey comes crashing through, bounces off Robertson. Dishes off a handball to Nathan Brown, who's got a couple of players in space. And one of them is Stephen Armstrong. Armstrong, 35 metres out, 45-degree angle. Kicked a goal in the second term. Chance to add another one here. Just settle the ship a little bit for Melbourne, because West Coast are definitely making a move back into this contest. Armstrong, 6 possession. Starts at left. And that's where it finishes. The behind to Stephen Armstrong. The margin now 16 points.
And Brown up to 21 possessions.
Cracking contest here at Subiaco, and so much on the line. Michael Pryor with the kick in. The crowd is roaring. He goes to the outer side. Good mark taken by Colica. Hands off to the run of Jakovic. Comes off the back edge of the centre square and thumps it long towards half forward. Judd. Uze attacked the ball. Judd got it at the back. Tried to slip away, couldn't do so. Had a runner in support. It was Wooden. Goes inboard to Gardner.
Get it in there.
From just inside the centre square, Michael Gardner wanted to hand off to Cousins. Goes one way and back the other. Flips it over the top. Handball missed its target, but Wooden can go back and get it. He runs to 55. Wooden unloads towards the goal face and misses to the near side. A behind. And this game is really, really lifting.
Pride comes off. Interesting situation with Judd tracking Uze on the far side. Chris Judd, a Melbourne supporter growing up. No doubt Uze, one of his favourites. Leoncelli kicks it up towards the wing. Ward onto it. Continues to run. Kicks inside the 50. Vardy on the lead. Well done, Colica. Timely fist. Gets it across the boundary line. Gee, it's seesawing stuff. Wonderful football. Powell sits down. Boundary throw in. Virtually a full house. The stakes are high. This is the way you like it. This ball floats wide of the contesting ruckman. Picked up by Banfield. Gardner in front. In fact, they were position players who were going to contest that last boundary throw in, because the ruckman, this man, Gardner, and White standing on the mark, were camped on the wing. Gardner exerting an influence. More correctly, White isn't. Chips it towards the wing, juggled by Chambers. Callum Chambers goes down towards half forward. Fletcher is about 60 metres out, and certainly the Eagles have lifted. Short one towards the pocket. Lynch again. Not a bad spot for a right footer. Peter Matera off the ground. So both coaches ringing the changes early in this third term.
I reckon Drew Banfield's been pretty good in this third quarter, just getting the ball forward a couple of times out of the centre bounce, and just in those tight one-on-ones, he's normally pretty good. He's got a strong body, and I think he's been one of the reasons why the ball's been going more often than not towards the West Coast Eagles goal this quarter.
Lynch has gone 3, right on the boundary, but this really is a good position for a right footer. Far post, let it work back, just like that. He's got 4.
Well, the thing about this game, I don't think West Coast can afford to go toe-to-toe with Melbourne. They actually need to play hard defensively and then attack. If that means it's going to be a 5-goal to 3-quarter, they're a lot better off going that way than having just toe-to-toe running up and down the ground. They need to play hard one-on-one defensively. When they have an opportunity to go forward, they take it. That's what they did. They've kicked the last 2 goals through Lynch. They just need to get on a little bit of a roll that way and get confidence back into the game.
Well, he is, as they say, a big unit, Quinton Lynch. 193 centimetres, 104 kilos. And he's having an influence on this game. He's kicked 4. And the margin back to just 9 points, Ben. And I must say, the first 10 or 12 minutes of this third term has got a finals-like atmosphere about it. And the tempo and the pace.
The ball's been flying around. But I think from West Coast Eagles' point of view, they're better off just slowing it down a little bit and just play one-on-one hard. That's a soft free.
Infringement against Jolly. Over the shoulder against Gardner. Doesn't waste any time. Gives it to Ward. Ward goes straight up the middle. Robertson will try to fly from behind. Jakovic wins his own ball at ground level. Over the top. Little handball to Vardy. Well played, Russell Robertson. Vardy gets his first. And the Demons get the settling goal. The margin back out to 15 points.
Yeah, crowd not happy. They thought Jakovic was infringed through Russell Robertson as his ball comes in. Is there an infringement there? Well, the umpire put his whistle to his mouth and failed to blow. That's what they're going crook about. And that's what I mean. They've done all the hard work, West Coast. They've kicked 2 goals in a row and they've just coughed up an easy one to Melbourne just like that.
The thing that saved Robertson, I think, on that occasion where his eyes were on the ball right the way through that contest. I think that's what the umpire was waiting to see.
Okay. Timely goal, certainly. Just stemming the flow. 10-9, 8-6. Woewodin somehow got clear. The hand pass not that good though. Johnston, lucky bounce into the path of Walsh. Walsh 60 metres out, can run, goes down towards the pocket. Neitz pitches just in front of him. Hand passes out, taken by Leon Kelly. 40 metres from goal, vacant goal square. How will it bounce? The wrong side of the major opening. Behind. Life on a knife's edge for both these clubs at the moment. And a brief lull. Melbourne 10-10, West Coast 8-6. So the margin 16 points. It was 14 at the half. Have the Eagles fired their best shot? Fletcher short. Jakovic in the shadows. Right back pocket. Drives play around the outer side. Hunter with Robertson coming back. That's a clever mark. Good mark. Hunter, emerging player. Wooden, dashing player at the moment, going towards half forward. They stayed off him. Feeds a hand pass to Cousins. 60 metres out, nothing on. Comes to Kerr. Kerr right on the 50, needs support. Comes backwards to Gardner. Less than convincing. Gardner jams it on the boot, down towards full forward. Wide of the mark again, Wirapunda going back, couldn't touch it. Behind.
And Wooden had to release that ball, Dennis. He had a couple of forwards leading at him. Lynch is hot to trot. Why not give him an opportunity?
It's amazing how one ignored lead can just ruin the whole attack. Bizzle goes around the wing, looking for Bruce off the hands of Judd. Can they keep it alive? Hunter lays the shepherd for Judd to pick up the football. Goes inboard and finds Green. On centre wing, Casey Green. Momentum back now with West Coast. They need to use it. It's called to play on. Green thumps it high inside the 50. It's all Melbourne. And the mark taken by Bizzle. Play on. 11th touch for Clint Bizzle. Sells the dummy to Chambers. Kicks towards the outer side. It's a 2-on-1. Leon Shelley will fly uncontested and take the mark. He's got Bruce all alone at centre half forward. Didn't spot him. Puts it out in front of Woewodin. The bounce didn't particularly suit either of those players. Woewodin got rid of Wooden. Armstrong back to Woewodin. Handballs it inside the 50. In the end, good pressure from Wooden. Refused to be beaten in that contest. And the ball goes out for a throw in. West Coast season in the balance. The margin is 15 points. Similarly, Melbourne's. Well, the Demons do have an easier run home. Jakovic takes it away from the ruck contest, gives it to Kerr. He just glides across the turf, kicks towards the wing. Embley gathers, tries to burn off Bizzle, almost takes out Brett Hetty, the runner. Away he goes, has a couple of bounces. Jolly, great speed for a big man. Embley shrugs him off, goes inside 50. The back of the contest is Matera. Lost it in the sun. Wirpunda tried to paddle between his legs and someone else's. Comes to Lynch, throws it on the boot. 3 Eagles to 1 Demon. Will they keep it in? Matera does. Slaps it back to Wirpunda. Defensive pressure came from Brown. Still alive. Matera trying to get it back to Embley. Johnston's lost it. Found it again at ground level. Thrilling football here at Subiaco as Brown puts it up high towards the defensive 50. Still alive. Gardner, 45 metres out. Allows me to take a breath and kicks it behind.
Gee, that was wonderful stuff, wasn't it?
They batted up well, didn't they, Melbourne? They had their backsides hanging out. Numbers were with West Coast, and you've got guys like Wirpunda and Phil Matera can sweep on the ball, but they got back in numbers and held them up.
Margin 14 points. Ward.
Good kick.
Welch is running hard towards the wing, can take it and move. Well, couldn't complete the first part of the equation. Hand passes away. Well done by Fletcher. Gets it across to Pryor, who is tripped. He'll get the free kick. That ball will come back.
Gee, they are pushing numbers back very hard. That's why a couple of times West Coast have been reluctant to... There's a bit going on there with the ump. They've been reluctant to kick it long because the numbers from Melbourne have been drifting back.
Josh Wooden it is. Charging through. Goes in short. Judd takes off, kicks wide towards the pocket, but Lynch has shown he can kick them from anywhere, and he's taken this mark about 5 metres in from the line and about 45 metres out from goal.
And it's taken a first-year player, Chris Judd. He's got the smarts, hasn't he? He's a complete footballer. He's understood you've actually got to carry the ball about 15 metres so you can actually kick over those numbers that are drifting back. Very smart play.
You've got to say you wouldn't bet against this man. 4 goals on the board so far. Very much cast in the role of a bit player coming into the season. Now he's pivotal. And who knows, could provide match-winning goals today. Difficult kick, this one, from that pocket. Across the face, out of bounds on the full. Much tougher that side of the ground for a right footer. No change. Bizzle has been very good. Short. Johnston in the opposite pocket. There's Melbourne. Tread warily. Johnston, the #1 draft pick, starting to flower now. Told to hurry up now. Jabs it close to the boundary line, wide of Bizzle, and bounces out of bounds. A lack of conviction right there.
They're trying to set up a loose man on the outer side there, Ben, with Wheatley and Lamb. But West Coast came and shut it down before Johnstone could get the football over there. Yeah, it's good team play from West Coast. That's what I'm talking about. They need to just close the game down a bit and get that run out of Melbourne's legs. Lynch from the ruck contest. Paddles one over the top to Cousins. Tries to evade Godfrey, his shadow this afternoon, to Gardner. From 60 metres, outstanding start. Wirpunda! David Wirpunda. No more than 10 metres out, directly in front. Acrobatic mark, just hung in the air. And a chance to reduce the margin back to 8 points. Point blank range. Goal. Eagles are back in this contest, and it is an absolute ripper. Hope you're enjoying it uninterrupted right around Australia on Fox Footy. Melbourne 10-10-70. West Coast 9-8-62. We're into time on in the third term at Subiaco. Yeah, and a couple of players, Wirpunda and also Phil Matera, a couple of small forwards. They've looked threatening at certain times throughout the course of the day, but Wirpunda's gone missing. He had an outstanding first quarter with 10 possessions, and he's now only up to 13. But if he and Phil Matera can get their hands on the ball in the last quarter, they're in a chance.
David Wirpunda, 26 goals for the season. Prior to this year, he'd kicked 22 in 65 matches. It was a wonderful mark under pressure. 10-10, 9-8. Gardner wins it down. Banfield digs it out. Wooden over the top. Kerr goes after it inside the centre square, but breaking towards half forward. Could kick a goal. 55 metres out. Goes past Ward. Lines up. He's got it. 2 points the difference.
And that's what they've done. They have closed this match down. They've reduced the amount of run that Melbourne has been able to execute this quarter. The reason why Kerr's running into an open goal is because Melbourne numbers have gone back. There's a player there, Wheatley, just marking space. And another player in front of him, Godfrey. But great in congested possession from Banfield this quarter. He was the man that got first hands on the ball in that centre bounce. The reason why Kerr was the recipient of that shot at goal.
He could be forgiven for thinking there's a howling gale. 16 goals of the 20 have been kicked to the left of screen in this contest. No breeze really to speak of. Melbourne lead by 2 points. West Coast charging back into this contest at Subiaco. White got it down. The bouncing ball goes to Johnston. He goes inside 50. Neitz. Melbourne a chance to answer.
It was a great mark, but it was a fantastic kick as well from Johnston to be able to execute that kick when he's got severe body pressure coming at him through Josh Wooden. And great play from Neitz. He just fended off McIntosh and then threw himself at the ball.
1-1 this afternoon. 60-28 for the season. Neitz, 45 metres out. Misses. The margin now 3 points. And what a game of swinging momentum. A minute into the second term. West Coast led by 28 points. Melbourne fought back, kicking 5 goals in 8 minutes at one stage. Got out to a 20-point lead of their own. And now it's back to 3 points as Colliker has it on the outer side. Thought about going around the boundary line. Kick back to the defensive goal square. The mark taken by Judd. Now they come to the members' side. Williams a couple to beat. Kick needed to be precise and he needed to hang on to it. Fortunately spilt to the back. We'll have a throw in.
I don't think John Worsfold would be happy with that. Boundary throw in, 60 metres out.
Doesn't look happy with anything at the moment.
No. Jakovic struck by the ball. Leoncelli strikes the ball. Armstrong goes to ground. Well intercepted by Wooden. Shown some dash in this term from half back up towards the wing. Little push from Embley. Too early, says the umpire. Seemed to be on the side.
Yeah, it was good play from Bizzle though. I mentioned his body positioning. He knows where to put his body one-on-one.
He's a good player, Bizzle, on his day certainly. Same applies to this man. Robertson looks across the ground. Whelan is pushed up. Matera won't get there in time. Whelan 75 metres out. Back in the square is Bruce. Neitz comes on a lead. Colliker with courage. Neitz found it on the ground. Tries to shrug a tackle. Hand passes out. Knocked back into the congestion. Chambers grabs it. Jams it on the boot. Clears the zone. Took a unkind bounce for Cousins. Whelan gives it across to Wheatley. Back to Whelan. Long kick to full forward. Going back was Hunter. Angled the fist towards the boundary. Jakovic in trouble. And the ball goes out of bounds in the pocket. It will be tossed in. 3 points the difference. Melbourne on top.
Gee, there's some great one-on-one battles in this game.
This is what you want. Counting down to the finals. Two sides disputing a position in the 8. Going at it. Bruce had it. Lost it. Oh, that was interesting. Williams, did he throw it out? Not according to the umpire.
You're joking.
Knocked across the boundary by Fletcher. Well, we're not sure what constitutes a throw this afternoon.
He was playing water polo.
In rugby league, that's called second phase play.
Dear, oh dear.
Throw in. Right on the forward 50 for the Demons. Ward got the tap. Straight down the throat of Bruce to Powell. Powell squares it up. Chance for West Coast now to break off half-back. Kerr wants to move it quickly. Comes to the members' side looking for Gardner. Right over the top. 60 metres out. Jeff White.
And Neitz has one out with McIntosh deep. Why not use him? There's a few people flooding back there now. A bit late.
Neitz offers a couple of half leads. You can see what White's got in front of him. In the end, he decides he'll thump it long towards the square. McIntosh and Neitz lock arms at ground level. Brown waited for it. Williams attacked it. Draws two players to him. Gives a handball to Fletcher. Away from Ward. Back to Williams, running out of space. Back to Fletcher. Has to kick blindly. It's all Melbourne. Johnstone calls Lee and Shelley out of it. Melbourne reload and can go again. This will sit up on Brown's head. Kerr came over the top. Brought it to ground. Here's Wooden. Banfield to Kerr. Nothing kicked from Kerr. And Wooden takes it to the line. The pressure starting to tell.
Banfield was terrific though, wasn't he? An old head there, just kept it when all about were losing theirs.
3 points the margin. We've gone 27 minutes in this third term. Fantastic game of football. Brown goes inside 50 for the Demons. Off hands, picked up by Uze. Keeps it alive. Vardy attacks it. Turns. Kicks for goal. Just got boot to ball a fraction of a second too late. And went to the left. Through for another behind to Melbourne.
And that was a goal through just hard football. Nathan Brown, that is, got it forward from that boundary throw-in. The West Coast Eagles are thankful that there's no other Nathan Browns in the competition. They've had enough of both of them.
2 goals 5 this quarter, Melbourne. West Coast have added 4 goals 3.
If you were Brisbane, I suppose you'd be looking in the phone book just to find a Nathan Brown to play next week. Kicks it outside the 50. Spills wide. Taken by Wooden. Had a good turn. Goes to Green inside the centre square. Squeezes a kick to Gardner. Now a chance for Chambers. Chambers running down towards half forward. Had to stretch for it. Kept his composure. Lines up. Likes a running goal. Does he like this one? You bet he does. He was always the danger man there.
Good play from Gardner, though. Just found himself in the right spot in general play. He's taken 8 marks, and I dare say most of them would have been on his chest, just getting off Jeff White a number of occasions. And Callum Chambers, he's had a remarkable year, starting every game on the bench, and that's his 20th goal for the year.
Another twist in this game as West Coast regain the lead. They held it by 28 at one stage early in the second. Melbourne led by 20 early in the third. And now it's West Coast again by 2 points. A minute and a half remaining in the third term. Melbourne got the clearance, but only as far as Casey Green. And he marks on the back edge of the square. Players pointing, calling in all directions. Green comes to the members' side. Weir Punter takes the mark. Got a couple of runners inboard. Thought better of it.
Just Wheatley positioning himself in front of Lynch and Phil Matera. That's why Wirrapunta doesn't want to kick it long. He's come inboard. Good play.
Straight across the ground. They'll attack from the other flank. Williams gets it and goes. Runs to 55. Unloads a thumping kick from Williams. It's across the face of goal. And misses. So Fletcher has 19 possessions, Wooden 19 for West Coast, Kerr 18, Gardner 17, including 7 in the term. As Bizzle goes back into play, clears the contest, Cousins there, hacked off the ground by Walsh. McDonald worked Fletcher under the ball. Play on's the call, Jakovic and Robertson crash through. Banfield, handball to Chambers, goes for a run, has a bounce, goes inside 50. Whelan and Wheatley go to cut it off. They double team Philip Matera. And Wheatley, searching kick towards the outer side. Williams cuts it off. Fists it to the line. For the Demons, Brown 24 possessions, Johnstone 24, Wheatley 18, Stephen Powell 17. The margin 3 points, 19 seconds left on the clock.
Memorable game so far. Tossed in, Gardner from behind White, hooks it down. Taken by Johnston, worked off the line of the footy by Wooden. Wooden breaks away. Chambers again, runs to just outside the 50, sets it up towards the pocket, going back Wheatley, content to knock it out of bounds.
He's been important though, Wheatley, just getting back in defence. Not sure who his direct opponent is. He's just playing loose back there. He's got the ability to read the ball off the boot and get a fist on the footy.
2 of the more composed coaches in the competition. Matter-of-factly, working the angles, trying to find an edge. As the Eagles try and find a late goal. There's the siren, 3/4 time. Just a terrific quarter of football. Melbourne started with a 14-point edge. And the West Coast Eagles have fought back to lead by 3. Three-quarter time at Subiaco Oval. West Coast 11-9. Melbourne a 10-12. Sometimes when you think it's almost impossible, players manage to find a little more, and I think in that term some of them did. At three-quarter time, it's the West Coast Eagles back on top. They lead by 3 points, 11-9-75 to 10-12-72. The term with so many highlights.
Whelan was pretty good. He's been reasonable all day. That was the soft one at the start of that quarter to Vardy. They've got him off to a pretty good start, but they tightened up West Coast. Phil Matera just keeping the ball alive here. And a good second effort to swoop on the footy. But there was Melbourne back, all the same were pretty good. There was a couple of times where just in general play there was some easy ball and Kerr, good little dummy and good finish. Gardner got a little bit of ball in general play as well, just on the rebound. Here he is here just popping that one over the top, and Chambers, as we've seen so often this year, a clinical finish.
What about the numbers, Ben?
Yeah, well, it's been pretty even all day.
Talk about tight. Look at the top two.
Absolutely. The inside 50s is probably the interesting one. I mean, Melbourne were very good in the second quarter, but West Coast got on top with their efficiency.
Brian Royal is down on the boundary with Mark Reddings.
Yes, Brian, a huge last quarter in the context of your season coming up.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's been a terrific game, hasn't it? But I guess it's going to be the battle of the fittest at the moment. Both teams are rotating a lot of players, so hopefully we've got a lot of fresh players to come on the ground.
Battle of the midfield in this final quarter, you believe?
Oh, there's no doubt about that. The midfield on both sides have been terrific, but they've both been rotating, and if we can get some fresh legs into the midfield, it might help us in the last quarter.
Brian, thanks for that. And before I go, the West Coast Eagles, as a group, huddled, linked arms. This match is pretty important for them. Don't you worry about that.
Speaking of finishing strongly, Melbourne have won 6 of their last 7 final terms. West Coast have gone win-loss in the final term over the last 6 weeks.
That's all about emotion, that particular shot, as you can see. Nothing to do with tactics. Worsfold imploring his team on as the Rucks go at it. Thumb forward, wide only as far as Fletcher. Fletcher, his kick landed inside the 50. Still, that's the centre square we're talking about, not the attacking 50. Now Judd's away. He's inside the attacking 50 and still running. 40 metres out and closing. Chris Judd gets the start, but Worsfold was imploring them to get.
Amazing poise for a guy in his first year. He's got tremendous acceleration, and once he tucks that ball under his arm, it's very rare that you see him run down. He's just amazing. Well done by Callum Chambers. He's copped the tackle there, an area that he's worked on, but he's just swooped on the ball, Judd. He's understood he is the advantage, he's the man. And the thing about his runs this year, he's very rarely missed a shot on goal on the run. Just poised beyond his years.
16 goals, 7 for the season. In front of 36,195 this afternoon, Chris Judd gets his second goal. And gives the Eagles a vital 9-point break. Early stage of the final term. Banfield gets the centre clearance this time for West Coast. Inside the 50. Slapped away by Bizzle. Walsh at ground level. Gets it to Lamb. Dribbles towards the line. Armstrong can't keep it in. We'll have a throw in 55 metres out from West Coast goal. They've seized the early initiative in the final quarter.
Yeah, Banfield's experienced in the centre bounce in the last quarter and the start of this have been fantastic.
It was up to 16 possessions, Drew Banfield. White got the tap. There's Fletcher for West Coast. Inside 50. Judd released the hands, got it to Gardner. Gardner from 47 metres, stands, goes for goal and misses. 3 behinds to Michael Gardner this afternoon.
You've got to be careful here, West Coast, because Melbourne have been pretty good getting the ball out of their defensive half from a point kick in. They've got a couple of times loose numbers on the wing.
Whelan to the member side. Lamb will fly over the top and takes a very well judged mark. Timed his jump perfectly. Knew Wheatley was going to stand shoulder to shoulder with Embley.
It's 1-on-1 from West Coast point of view all around the ground, so they've really stopped this point kicking. Good play, good team play.
Lamb was looking for a free option. As Ben mentioned, there wasn't one, so he goes towards Robertson at ground level. Tried to keep it alive. Wooden towards the line. He goes out for a throw in.
Josh Wooden terrific in the third term. 11 possessions in that quarter alone. Tossed in on the wing. Margin 10 points. Eagles on top. Gardner brilliantly done. Into the path of Hunter, and here's away. A second bounce, running down towards half forward, sets it up. Lynch over his head. Bizzle, fine defender, runs onto it. Opportunity going the other way now for the Demons. Ward has it. Armstrong is running hard in his direction. He decides to hold. Bizzle was the man he thought about going to in the middle. Now he runs. Spots Woewodin coming back. He's marked forward of half back. Nothing much gained here other than the players are forced to run across the ground. You can see them jamming it up. The kick down ground. Woewodin decides to run. He'll kick long towards Robertson. Had to stretch, gets down and takes the mark. Good mark low down. And the umpire showing common sense there. Djakovic a little uncertain whether it bounced. Came late, no 50. Robertson forward of the wing.
Yeah, reluctant to go long. Woewodin is drifting back in front of Neitz.
Play on's the call. He took a step. Robertson. Interesting kick where a punter is called by Ben. In the hole, takes the mark. And perhaps Neitz should have come earlier. We're a punter to McIntosh. Out of defence. Drives towards the outer side. Banfield goes back, claims the mark. Where will he go next? Good looking kick. Pulls it back for Colliker. Vardy missed it. Colliker finds it on the ground. Man running wide. Elects to kick inside the 50. Up comes Philip Matera. Goes past that running man Chambers. Pulls it back in short. Half volley in front of Fletcher. Bad luck for them. Dragged down is Wheatley. Crowd wanting holding the ball. Will have a ball up. Wheatley in the famous number 31. Straight through the legs of Fletcher. And Wheatley got the arms free and may have been a bit lucky there. All about prior opportunity. Rucks go at it. Gardner again. A big influence. Cousins, the look away handball. Problem was Kerr was looking away. Out it comes towards Brown. Paddles it up towards the middle. Chance for Uze. How did he get out of there? Broke a couple of would-be tacklers to the run of Johnston.
Johnston comes away from Wood and goes inside 50 again. West Coast to the man in the hole. Collier couldn't hang on. That allows Vardy in. Vardy runs to 20. He runs to 10 and goes bang. Hits the post. Thunders into the woodwork.
That could be about a season.
And Peter Vardy, 1 goal 3 this afternoon, just hung his head. He is a sharpshooter generally. How did he miss that one? Just running the angles.
Didn't need the power.
West Coast player just came at the corner of his eye at the last moment. I think it was Djakovic.
I reckon he was in two minds whether to dish it off to Bruce. Bruce came late to Shepherd, and they had to have the shot in the end, Vardy. He was tied in there.
McIntosh kicks to a pack. Bruce wins it for Melbourne at ground level to Wheatley. Here's a thumping kick. Unloads from 50 metres out. There was pressure on the kick, though. And it bounces through. Unbelievable.
The old 7-point play.
Well, Paul Wheatley gets the goal.
Ashley McIntosh looks bemused. So does Jacko.
Is that football karma? What is that?
Just amazing.
You run in and miss from 10 metres out, and then this one.
It's floated through. Hasn't come off the boot well.
Look at that. Unbelievable.
He meant it.
Impossible to duplicate that sort of bounce. So everything back on the table. 3 points the difference. Still oodles of time. Gardner had to wait. White ran hard, thumped it down towards half forward. Dragged down was Cousins. In the back, says the umpire. A collision between Robertson and the umpire. Suddenly they don't count anymore. Wooden gets a hand pass away to Cousins. Cousins, probing kick inside the 50. Bizzle! Wonderful mark. Clint Bizzle playing one of the games of his life. Terrific spring. Wonderful judgment. He's been resolute all day. A game punctuated by highlights. Brown to half-forward Uze, carried under the football. He'll be first back. Melbourne wanted it most. Ward, Armstrong tried to get a hand pass away. Down went Williams, picked up by Uze. Kept his head, goes to Johnston. Plenty of class and evidence there for Melbourne. Travis Johnston, too far out to score, I'd suggest. His side down by 3 points, but Melbourne making the play, at least for the moment. Neitz, aided by a pick, comes and takes the mark. Well worked by Melbourne.
I think it was Robertson, Dennis, that just got in between Ashley McIntosh and Neitz and just allowed him another probably 2 metres, and that's all you need if you're on the end of a great pass from Johnson. But good team play from Melbourne to get David Neitz, their skipper, on.
He's been in the action a lot today, but just the 1 goal to show for it. He'll take a good kick from here. Hard pocket for the right footer. Gentle crossing breeze may help. I think missed. He has to the near side. So the margin is back to 2 points. 12-10, 11-14. Both sides wanting a place in the finals, but it really comes down to a bit of luck and who wants it most this afternoon.
McIntosh, thumping kick in, clears the 50. Williams across the front of the contest. It's built to Woewodin. Handball to Powell. Uses Lee and Shelley out wide. Inside 50 now. Vardy looks around. He's going to have to fly. Jumped early and took the mark. Mistimed his leap and took it on the way down.
They did that well though, Melbourne. Ashley McIntosh has kicked the ball outside 50. There was a contest about 52 out, and Woewodin on the end just kept the ball alive and just belted it in there and gave Vardy an opportunity.
Identical spot. Moments ago he was on the run.
So we could say distance not a problem, but accuracy might be.
He's thinking about that post.
He's kicked 1-3 this afternoon, Peter Vardy. 20 metres out and misses another one.
Oh, dear.
1 goal for to Peter Vardy. And it's a point the difference at Subiaco. We've gone 9.5 minutes in the final term.
He overcorrected. He was thinking of that post.
Woewodin with the kick in. Again outside 50. Again a big pack of players around it. This time Hunter will get the free kick for West Coast. Just dragged down by Bruce in the marking contest. And West Coast can clear the danger zone. There's the offending hand from Cameron Bruce. Hunter has it. Squares it up to Woewodin. Trots away from defensive 50. Looks up. Kick towards centre half forward. Gardner's his target. Just got away from White. Takes an athletic mark. It's a wide open forward 50 for West Coast if he moves it quickly. Lynch offers a lead. Lynch runs to the 40. Now has to double back. Gardner towards Embley, his marking target. Got one hand to it. Bounced off his shoulder. Woewodin in there. So's Bizzle. Comes to Whelan for the Demons.
Well done.
Flips it over the top to Uze. Can they get some run off half back? He puts it into the path of Nathan Brown. Gathers. Looks up. He's got Powell versus Woewodin. Goes in that direction and Powell makes it good. Stephen Powell, 19th possession, back into the side after 2 weeks suspension. Goes towards Vardy again. Colliker at ground level. Vardy against McIntosh. McIntosh holding the tackle. Neitz, Melbourne in front. The Demons back in front. David Neitz kicks his second. And another twist and turn in this game at Subiaco.
And you've got to say well done to Vardy, because he's got back there and compete. He's missed a couple of goals, but he's whacked on a tackle here. Great tackle, just kept that ball going and rolling towards David Neitz, his skipper. It would have been very easy to say it's not my day today. I'll go into Michelle, but Vardy has remained in the game. He's an experienced player. That's what Neil Danaher would be expecting of him. Good tackle from him.
Interesting one. In as much as McIntosh did punch the ball away. The tackle, though, I don't think lingered long enough. Split seconds involved here. Charging in his Gardner. Thumps it down towards half forward. Wheatley in the road. Left it behind. Socket off the ground by Gardner. Wheatley didn't appear to have the football. Johnston goes quickly and knocks it across the line. So a throw in. Prancing, prowling on the boundary. Philip Matera wants to be back in the action. And maybe he's the sort of player who could determine the outcome. Gardner waiting for contact. White flew over the top. Ward in trouble. On his knees, Woewodin, the master, in tight. Hand pass from Leoncelli to Walsh. High up and under. Johnston. Good mark. Hobbles out of the pack. That hurt. He's been a good player. To Walsh. Now where will he go? White offers a lead. Not sure about that. So Walsh really does have a problem and the umpire won't help. Walsh goes out wide. Uze, well, when in trouble, go to your class man, but Uze missed it. Kerr locks it up. Johnston, wonderful. Johnston and Uze in the same meterage makes it hard for the opposition, and as a result the Eagles could pay the price. Johnston runs down to the 50. Somehow nobody got to him. How will this bounce? Banfield! I don't think he got there in time. It's a goal.
Well, that's a fantastic finish because he copped a corky a couple of minutes ago. I reckon about a minute before he was got on the end of that footy, he understood again that he was the advantage, and he just belted it forward in the end. And they've had a couple of lucky ones this quarter, Melbourne. But he's understood he's had to carry the ball because he is the advantage for his team. No ball, no point kicking the ball forward. And just running around Djakovic quite easily, you thought he would have made a bit of body contact.
Godfrey did well, didn't he? Ran hard and just got Kerr off the line of the tackle.
So the margin now out to 11 points. West Coast have to dig deep. Travis Johnston with his first goal this afternoon. He's had 28 possessions. Brown's had 26 for Melbourne. Wooden 22, Fletcher 21 for West Coast. Important ball. White got it to Leoncelli. Towards half forward. Bruce attacks it. So did Robertson. The bounce beat both of them. Djakovic into the centre. Chambers was interfered with and will take a free kick. Looks up, wants to move it quickly. Tells Webb Hunter to keep running. Kicks high. They'll contest 35 metres out. Lamb will come over the top. At ground level, Walsh just gets it and belts it out of there and finds the boundary on the outer side. 11 points the margin. Just under 11 minutes remaining in what you have to say, Ben, has been a very exciting game of footy.
Yeah, West Coast relying on Embley, Lynch and Peter Matera there in the forward 50 for West Coast. I'm inclined to agree. Down the side getting Phil Matera on the ground. He can kick a couple of goals quickly.
White couldn't get an effective disposal. Went to Leoncelli. Ward wrapped up by Kerr. Walsh. Godfrey. Been important this afternoon, Simon Godfrey. Beautiful kick. Spots up Cameron Bruce, 85 metres from goal. He goes looking for Vardy. Oh, got to the front, no free kick paid. Vardy stopped, thought it was coming his way. Hunter. Handball to Kerr. Just backward of centre wing, Daniel Kerr. Towards half forward, it's a 2-on-1. Lurking at the back was Peter Matera. Makes his move now. Had Chambers out wide if he could get it, but the numbers beat him. Whelan to Powell, to Leoncelli. Melbourne's midfielders working hard in the final term. Here's Bruce.
Great kick.
He marks right on 50.
It's a great kick from Leoncelli, wasn't it?
And those names we've spoken about, rising to the top in the final term. Bruce goes looking for Robertson, but it's picked off. Here comes the counter punch. Casey Green towards the wing. Chambers. It's end-to-end football here at Subiaco. Callum Chambers to half forward. Lynch worked hard to the front. Lamb did enough and gets it to the line. 9.5 minutes remaining. 11 points the margin. And the stakes don't come much bigger than this.
One of the games of the season. Boundary throw in. Gardner and White. White from behind decisively. Leoncelli smothered off the boot, and the umpire plays a part. It ricochet to Embley. 65 metres out, pulls it back and low down. The mark is taken by Lynch. Well, who says umpires can't affect the outcome of games?
And luck playing an important part for both sides. A couple of lucky bounces for Melbourne resulted in goals, and the umpire just getting in the way and the ball rolling towards Andrew Embley. Can be cruel sometimes.
Good mark for a big man too, wasn't it? In the hands, on his hip virtually. Distance we know won't be a problem. He's booted 4-2 this afternoon. Can he kick straight? This crowd willing him to do exactly that. This is very tight. The players look. They were uncertain. It's a goal.
Well, he's been impressive today. A couple of times I would have preferred him to remain more stationary rather than on the lead, but that ball just ricocheting off the umpire. Now this, as Travis Johnstone comes off, who's been a fantastic player, that corky must be worrying him, but if ever a centre bounce has been important, this is it. Michael Gardner up against Jeff White in what's been an enthralling battle. A couple of dynamos in there for West Coast, Cousins in Wirrapunda.
What a game of football. 5 points the margin. 9 minutes remaining. Peter Matera gathers from the ruck contest, kicks out wide to the outer side. Ward versus Wirrapunda. Heads towards the line. Ward keeps it in to the advantage of West Coast, however. Fletcher, Judd. Could be a big play, this one. Judd goes to the 50. Wheatley playing in front of Chambers, picks it off. So Paul Wheatley. 20th touch. Chips short and finds Woewodin for his 19th.
It's man on man all over the ground.
Woewodin called to play on now. Still uncertain of his options. You can see what he's got in front of him. A big pack of players around the wing. Jakovic worked Robertson under it. Leoncelli socketed off the ground and gained an extra 25 metres for his side. A throw in about 70 metres out from Melbourne's goal. They lead by 5 points.
And Jeff White staying centrally. Gardner picking him up, so Robertson and Jakovic will do this boundary throw in.
Jakovic takes it from the ruck contest. Runs away from McDonald. Gets the Shepherd from Wooden. Kicks around the wing. Brown got to the front of the contest. Won his own ball. Was then run down. Chance for Wirrapunda.
Oh, handballs.
Goes towards the 50 and again Wheatley.
Gee, they had a chance there. Wirrapunda should have dished off to Gardner. He would have ran all the way in and had a shot from 50 then.
Nathan Brown's down holding his head in the middle of the ground. Jeff White gathers just inside the boundary line. Goes to Bizzle. Tries to run away from Chambers. Stands up in the tackle. Around the outer wing. Robertson takes the mark. Nathan Brown's up and about for the Demons. Uze, half forward, got 2 or 3 to beat. Spills to the back. How will it sit for him? Cousins tries to work him over. Uze pirouettes, kicks towards the goal square. Neitz and McIntosh. Neitz!
Oh, that was wonderful by Uze.
Keeping his feet, Dennis.
Oh, just superb, wasn't it?
A couple of players. I think Cousins actually fell to the ground in that contest. He had a couple to beat, and he just sensed a lesser player would have actually fallen over, but the poise he had then was just remarkable. And Neitz, what strength to out-bustle McIntosh when that ball's come in one-on-one.
2-2 for David Neitz. And the Fraser captain's goal is a tired old cliche in football.
Peter Matera is very, very close.
So I won't use it.
He obviously understands the importance of the kick, but forces Neitz to go straight at McIntosh on the mark.
David Neitz takes a step, kicks a goal, and his side leads by 11 points. Neitz with 3. Well, Adam Uze to keep that alive around the outer flank. In the call, Ben, I mentioned he had 2 or 3 to beat. Held his feet, stood up in the tackle, and had the presence of mind to kick it to the square.
Here we go. He goes back with the flight of the ball there and just kept the ball alive in front of him. He knew where it was the entire time. Cousins falling down around him and just popped it up. Neitz just 1 step inside the field of play. Great finish. Just Melbourne's skill level, I reckon they're quality players. Powell, Uze, it's really come to the fore in this last quarter.
Neitz, 3 goals then this afternoon. 14-15 to 13-10. Melbourne work it out of the middle again. Godfrey towards half forward. Bruce charging up on his knees. Somehow got it away to Powell. The next goal could really hurt the Eagles. Inside the 50, Vardy and Collicker. Forward of the pack, Cousins. Goes out wide. Will it get there in time to Green? Great tackle, Ward. Hand passed away by Green. Well done. This is Judd. Half-back flank. Kept his head. Goes in short. Hunter. Slick hands away. Green storming up the outer side. Short. Callum Chambers inside the centre square. 11 points the margin. Judd once more, and why not? Generally good vision. This is no exception. Chose the right option. Banfield. Lynch missed it. Loose ball at the back. Brown comes up. He's been a wonderful player. Hard against the boundary line. Got it to Lamb. Looping hand pass over the top. Bruce drives it around the outer side. Launching himself. Uze tackled in midair. Must get a free kick.
Big contest, that one.
The cream coming to the top.
The space for Neitz to run into.
Uze, forward of the wing, just drops it into that space. And guess who? Neitz has paid the mark, 45 metres out.
They set it up well, didn't they? No one creeping back from Melbourne's point of view. So their opponent would follow them. They're just coming up towards the West Coast goals, all the Melbourne players, and that's just allowed Neitz to run into that open space. Good team structure.
Into time on. Neitz lining up at his fourth. All about Melbourne's future, this kick, and so too linked so much to the Eagles.
Oh,
I think he's kicked a goal. That could be a backbreaker.
David Neitz gets his fourth, 3 in the final term. And a couple of years ago, Ben, when David Neitz was appointed captain, a lot of people in football said he's going to need to grow into the role, but we see he has certainly done that at Melbourne. He is an on-field leader.
and have a look at the kick though. Uze off a couple of steps. He gets the ball in his hands. He is lethal. He's just come good when his team has needed him, Adam Uze, and Neitz to be licking his chops running onto that ball.
The Eagles need something special, but this game's had plenty of twists and turns. They need 3 goals. Banfield gets it forward. Chambers taps it on. He's 60 metres out, needs support. Judd can gather, can get around onto that lethal right boot. He runs to 20 metres out. There's a goal! That's one of the 3 they needed.
Oh, wonderful.
Chris Judd gets his 3rd.
And it's come from Banfield just doing some grunt work in the middle of the ground as well. He's unfashionable, Banfield, but he got the ball forward. And just have a look at this bloke. No one can lay a hand on him. He's just amazing. He's run around, got the poise to become a little bit more central as he approaches the goal. And I don't think I've seen him miss a goal running when he's running straight at it this year.
The place at fever pitch. Chris Judd, 3 goals for the afternoon. The rookie. He doesn't play like a rookie. White knocks it down. Brilliantly done. Uze grabs it hurriedly. Kicks down towards the attacking 50 for Melbourne. Robertson tried to direct it down to support and Bruce. Bruce still has a chance. Feeds it back. Taken now by Leoncelli. Spots a man in the pocket. Will it get there in time? Robertson bounced off his chest. Turns around. Hooks across the face of behind. Well, that ball got to Robertson untouched. Should have marked. Fletcher sitting down. No doubt feeling helpless about this now. His future in terms of the finals, one would suspect, in the hands of his teammates and in those of the opposition.
Suddenly a draw enters the equation, Dennis.
It does, and Essendon and the Bulldogs would be very happy with that. Kick outside the 50, then Neitz was up, couldn't hang on. Improvising was Robertson, kicked it back inside the 50. Philip Matera gets a hand pass away to Jakovic. The champ has a bounce, runs up to half back, unloads, high ball. Wheatley's been so strong all day, missed it that time. Brown dived on top of it, was quick to dig it out. The bodies commit from both directions. Kerr and Ward, both of them to be congratulated. Ball up on the outer side. Bad news for the Eagles as the clock continues. No, it's not, it's stopped. I was going to say continues to run. That was a very quick whistle, not always the way.
It was hard in there, and West Coast throwing their gun forward. Ben Cousins is in the goal square.
Under 4 minutes remaining. A stack of players around this ball. Peter Matera paddles to his own advantage, tries to keep it in. Taken down in a tackle, gets the free kick. There's Cousins, one out with Godfrey. Deep in attack for West Coast, but Matera has it just backward of the wing on the outer side. 14th possession. Set to rack up his 250th game for the club next week. Thumps towards 50. Embley presents himself off his hands. Kerr through the congestion. Tries to keep it alive only as far as Bruce. He takes it to the boundary.
They might just be able to set a little team play in here. There's Ben Cousins, he's gone for it, he's urging his team on. But if Gardner can get first use of the ball, someone may be able to swoop onto it.
Kerr off the hands of the ruckman. Backward to Peter Matera inside 50. Attacking it was Cousins. The bounce beat him. At the back is Lynch. Lamb grabbed it. Taken down in a tackle. Got the hands free. Handball wide towards Nathan Brown. Over again. There goes another 17 seconds of game time.
They're unlucky though because Gardner was outstanding. Got the ball down to Kerr. If you're on a roll, go with again. No one's picking Kerr up at the minute.
Marching 2 straight goals. It's inside the 50.
Williams.
Lee and Shelley there for Melbourne. Whelan. The Demons try to get it going their way. Slipping over was Uze. They pile it on top of it. And Melbourne hanging on desperately as Williams stands alone at centre-half forward, 55 metres out from West Coast goal.
Someone needs to run and even come from the forward line.
No one has spotted him.
Powell's pointing, he needs to go and pick him up.
Lee and Shelley gets back there now. Spills to the back. Here's Walsh. To Woewodin, and Melbourne win one of their most important clearances for the year. Towards half forward, here's a chance for West Coast. Hunter tries to run away from Bruce. To Banfield. Chance for the Eagles here through the middle. Banfield draws a player. Philip Matera from 50 metres out. Goes for home. It's a goal of difference at Subi. Philip Matera kicks his second, and somehow this game was always going to build to a climax.
And brilliant play from Adam Hunter. He's developed into a player. As Phil Matera runs off, Banfield off as well. Fresh legs on. They're trying to make a mismatch. West Coast are bringing Dean Cox to come on. He'll go forward and Fletcher's gone back. But Hunter, just his positioning on Vardy, or may have been Bruce, just outstanding. And he got the ball forward. Got it forward quickly simply because he read the ball off Woewodin's feet perfectly.
Melbourne by 6 points. Up they go. White knocks it down. Controlling the ball is Judd, but going nowhere. Under 2 minutes to go. 106 to 100. Ball up alongside the centre circle. Starting the day, West Coast a record of 10 and 8. Melbourne a record of 9 and 9.
Melbourne players coming up.
Anxiety all round. You can cut this atmosphere with a knife. White, Rapunda with the outside of the boot. Johnston needs to go. Awkward bounce. Johnston still well controlled, well played. Got it to Walsh. Walsh can go over the top with precision. Lovely kick. Bruce has got it. And we're approaching a minute 30. If Melbourne knew that, they would just chip this thing around and see the clock off. They don't. Bruce hugs the boundary line. Next best option. Jakovic goes across. Timely mark. No time to waste. The Eagles well aware of that. Gives it to Fletcher, so he's back on the ground. Short one to Green. Just over a minute to go. Melbourne need to hold. Green across half-back. Some indecision. He needs to move it. Chips in short. Fletcher bounces in front of him. They've got it on the wing. Inside a minute. Fletcher twisting, turning. What a thriller at Subi. Sets it up to half forward. White! No, it's Powell over the top. Powell took the mark. White opted out of the contest. Melbourne well represented there. Powell picks himself up ruefully. That is a great grab. Now they square it to the outer side. Whelan's got it. And they still lead by 6 points. And I think they know what the clock is all about. Back to Powell. Much more leisurely mark that time.
West Coast need a turnover. It's as simple as that.
They need to pick up every player. They can't afford Melbourne to chip the ball around. Must be one-on-one everywhere.
20 seconds remaining. They've got to pick off a kick somehow. Powell plays on. Last roll of the dice for West Coast. Big pack of players. It spills to the back. They need the football. West Coast. Lynch. Handball smothered. Melbourne have shut it down. Free kick, and it's going the way of the Demons. With 3 seconds left on the clock. Well, Melbourne trailed by 28 points. 28 points it was 1 minute into the second term. They've come from behind and registered a famous win that keeps their season well and truly alive. Melbourne 15-16, 106. Defeat the West Coast Eagles 15-10, 100 in a fantastic game of football.
And that smile says it all as the Demons celebrate. And you get the feeling now with the run ahead of the West Coast Eagles, it is going to be so tough to make the finals. But Melbourne would be reinvigorated with their situation. Their 10th win of the season and some games eminently winnable that lie up ahead. But this season has had so many twists and turns. Let's get on to Mark Reddings.
Yes, thanks, Dennis. With me is Travis Johnstone. I guess you've had some big wins this year. This is right up there with them.
Yeah, we knew we had a big game on our hands, and coming over here to play West Coast, they're a really tough team. And to our credit, the boys really dug deep and fought back after we had a good lead, and then we've come up with a good win.
I guess you've prided yourself on doing pretty well interstate, and apart from losing at Footy Park, you've done that.
Yeah, we wanted to win at least 3 of our home away games, and we've won most of them, so we've taken on Brisbane and done that. But it's just we've got to get back to winning at Melbourne, winning the games we're expected to win, so hopefully we can go on from here.
Well, you've silenced Subiaco. Congratulations, Travis.
Thank you very much, guys. Thanks.
29 possessions to Travis Johnstone.
The Demons lost after the siren here to Fremantle earlier in the season when Jeff Farmer kicked that goal. And today they've turned it around and won the thriller themselves.
Sweeter memories. They were terrific, Melbourne, after that slow start. I did make the point in the first quarter. It reminded me very much of the game. Yes, both barrels. Melbourne is celebrating. Grand old flag flying high tonight. Terrific win by the Demons, 15-16, 106. They finish over the top of the West Coast Eagles, 15-10, 100. The margin, 22 points the Eagles way at quarter time. Melbourne led by 14 at half-time after kicking 7 second quarter goals. At three-quarter time, it was the West Coast Eagles by 3 points, and certainly Neitz dangerous up forward. Terrific performance. No substitute for hard work as far as Melbourne are concerned.
Amazing game. West Coast led it by 28 points at one stage early in the second term. Melbourne then got out to a 20-point lead early in the third. West Coast hit back, and it was always just going to build to a thrilling climax.
I was just making the point as they were walking off the ground. Virtually a carbon copy of the game up at the Gabba against Brisbane. Terrible start. They worked their way back into it. One big quarter, and then an epic last quarter, and their will prevailed, as it did again today. Neitz was good on the forward line, possibly could have had 6 or 7, and this was a great searching run down the outer side, aided by a wonderful shepherd by Godfrey, who got across just enough to put Kerr off the line of the ball, but back came the Eagles.
They did, and you could see how much this game meant to Melbourne, not only on the 4 premiership points, but just in terms of belief, the way they belted out that song at the end.
Yeah.
This is a real season maker for them.
They travel well, and they're travelling well as a result of this win this afternoon. And the possessions, which were dead level, amazingly, at half-time, down to the nth degree, favour Melbourne slightly at the end.
Yeah, 35 in front at the end there. And look, it was just a fantastic game of football. You can break the numbers down all you like, but it was a game based on character and spirit today, wasn't it? And both sides showed plenty of it.
One of the best we've seen. Melbourne home by 6 points. 2 other games played this afternoon. What do they mean in the mix? Well, if you want to know that, you can look. Otherwise, replays are scheduled around the network. And if you want the suspense later when you watch the replays, I suggest you look away now. So, interesting. Let's look ahead. Hard to know what it means if we can't tell you about those scores, but nevertheless, it starts on Friday night. The Tigers and Hawthorn, their results are in. Hawthorn making a bit of a run. As we look towards Saturday, well, we'll talk around all of that.
Fremantle and Geelong and Subiaco. I can tell you the scores. I didn't look away now, Dennis, but I think that'd defeat the purpose of the whole thing. So we won't mention them, but
Take your mouth.
Fremantle and Geelong at Subiaco. Kangaroos and Carlton at Colonial Stadium. It's just the season has just been building to a situation where you can just almost guarantee it's going to come down to the last Sunday of round 22, can't you?
Saturday night at the football. Arch rivals Essendon and Collingwood. Well, you know what happened with the Eagles today and the Brisbane Lions at home. So the Eagles' run now, as we said at the outset, is initially Brisbane, then Port Adelaide here at Subiaco Oval, and they finish with the Kangaroos at Manuka. Now, they really do have to win 2 of those. That is very difficult when 2 of your remaining 3 are the top 2 sides in the competition.
Much better run home for Melbourne, as we saw at the start of the program, and they've got a bit of momentum now. They'd lost their last 3 games and a couple of heartbreakers in that, so for them to get up in a close one is going to give them immense belief.
Well, they look the same, but trust me, the feelings are far different. In one change room, they're feeling elated, content, just sucking it in, and they're absolutely gutted. Their season on the line this afternoon. They knew that coming in. Of all times, to lose to an interstate team, today was not the one to choose. Of course, it wasn't by design, not of their own choosing. Melbourne just prevailed. They stamped their will on this game and were wonderful. As we said, they could have folded up their tent at quarter time, these Demons. They're looking for somewhere to lie down now, but they didn't at quarter time when they trailed by 22 points. They dug deep and they came storming back into it. So repeating that final scoreline, it was 15-16 to 15-10. Melbourne get home by 6 points, and obviously now right in the mix again, Jace.
Fantastic game of football. Augurs well for round 20.
They improved their record to 10-9. Thanks for your company.